Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to 147 of Heavy Metallurgy. Happy Friday. Hope you all had a great week. Alan, have you had a good week?
I had a very busy week, but not a bad week. Just lots going on with work and family stuff. But let's just say I'm real happy to park my butt right here for a while tonight and not move and just hang out with y'all. So hello to everybody filling in the chat. Hope y'all have had a good week too.
Absolutely. Hey John and Sue, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. I got two quick things to plug. First of all, today on Binary Recordings, we and Nordvis over in Sweden, we launched pre-orders for the 10th anniversary edition of Panopticon's Roads to the North. It comes with expanded liner notes, new artwork, updated artwork, and 8-page booklet with lyrics. All the good stuff, really cool looking vinyl. Go to the Binary Recordings shop to pre-order a copy if you are so inclined. Also, I did want to mention my buddy Noah and his crew. I talked about his bands on here before: Oralisk, Draughter, Lanzarath. He's got another new band out here in Northern Michigan. They're called Wood Cult. They just put out their new album last week called Dendric Incantations. They're a three-piece. This album was recorded live on 4 mics and a multi-track tape machine, so it's got a nice analog feel, nice live analog feel. If you're into underground black metal, check it out. I got links in the description to the Northern Spire Productions Bandcamp page and also the official website. So if you're into the underground black metal stuff, Wood Cult, check them out. Northern Michigan supergroup, members of Pan and all the other bands I've already mentioned. So good friends. I just wanted to give them a little plug. It's good stuff. Yeah. And should we bring on the king?
Absolutely.
Right on.
The man waiting.
No, we don't keep the man waiting. It's been a long time since we've seen this feller in our presence. And welcome back, Kingsley. Good to see you, my friend.
Hello.
What has been shaking, my friend?
All kinds of stuff, man. Having a blast. We're working on the new Deceased record. Been working on that a lot. Just finished writing it about, maybe 4 weeks ago. Next step is a couple jams, a couple get-togethers, and then going in the studio and recording it.
Oh, okay. Right on.
Other than that, going on a tour in April for about a little over a week. We're going to do some shows with Violence and Ex-Order on the East Coast. We got asked to be part of that. So we're going to go do like 8 shows before we get settled into the studio. It's not too far from home, so it's kind of an easy thing.
Did I see a gig in Hawaii, too?
We're playing in Hawaii, man.
Nice.
Whoever fucks up ends up in the volcano.
the sacrifice to appease the volcanic gods.
No pressure.
Also film at least 3 B horror movies while we're there.
Might as well.
Might as well.
Going up on stage in grass skirts. How does this happen? Hawaii, that's a long haul.
A guy named Max got in touch with Amos, our drummer, and he wanted us to come there and play this thing. The Accused is on it. Sabat from Japan is playing. That's what I've seen so far. Nice. Looking forward to, flying 13 hours and going there, and
right.
Having a blast. I mean, I think I'm down to like 9 states in the United States or parts of the United States I haven't played, and that's one of them. So, we're getting closer and closer. So
that's awesome, man.
It'll be a blast. It'll be a volcanic blast.
I gotta say, it's been great. Deceased has always stayed true to what you guys have always done, and it's great now to see. It seems like it's been a slow but maybe steady progression as far as acceptance and love. I mean, people love Deceased. It may not be the biggest band ever in the world, but your fans fucking love Deceased. It's got to be a good feeling.
No such thing as Deceased fans. We're all friends. We're all in this together. We don't play that. We're on this side of the stage. You're on the other. We're all metalheads. We're all just, here to have fun on Earth.
Right.
And, we've been out playing a lot. We did those 2 tours with Bulldozer, East Coast, and then last year, West Coast. Those were big deals. And, we've just constantly been playing. And, we stick to our guns, however it falls. I always say this every time that, this comes up, but we don't give a fuck. We ain't trying to be a hit parade or centerfold of the month. We could care less, man. We just play heavy metal. We just do death metal from the grave. And if other people like it, cool. If not, cool too.
Yeah.
I'm the centerfold this month, so you can't be the centerfold of the month.
Professor Steele.
Last month. At least this time your head's up.
Peter Steele, Professor Steele. There's a lot in common there we haven't discussed.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot in common.
Well, if me and Marty make it, then it has to do a 4-page expand. Not because we're fat, but because we're big boys.
That's right. Are you at liberty to disclose the name of the album? Has that been announced?
Absolutely. It's called Children of the Morgue.
Okay.
It'll be on Hell's Headbangers. We're going to record it this summer. It'll be out in August.
Okay.
And I'm very, very, very proud of it. It's a concept record. It's basically on death. It's a record about death. It's about losing loved ones, dealing with it in so many ways, becoming sick, becoming the outsider looking in at the person who's sick, a loved one. It's just dealing with, the old, Iron Maiden, as soon as you're born, you're dying kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's very melodic at times. There's some real ripping thrash on there too. It's all over the place. I mean, it's a hard one to really nail down. I think it's a little bit of everything we've ever done with some new stuff too, keeping us where we are, but it's nothing outside of the deceased spectrum. It's 110% still deceased. Children of the Morgue, some of the new titles. Terror Not is one of the new songs. There's a song on there called Fed to Mother Earth is one I like. That's probably my favorite track so far.
In Hawaii.
Exactly. Brooding Lament is another. It's just a emotional ride. And it's been wild. I mean, I've been listening to a lot of music as always, but for me, a lot of this is watching some pretty saddening stuff. I was actually earlier just watching an old PBS Frontline on about an embalmer in Michigan, of all places, that he basically was saying how he had the market cornered and he didn't like it because he knew everybody in the town. And he was talking about these couple he knew for a while. Their child was born sick, and it lived to be like 4.5 years old, the little boy, and very, very sick. And he was saying he wouldn't take any money for his services and just give him the coffin for what it cost. But this is part of like my, what I need to do. I have to go deep into this kind of thing. I lost my dad at a young age. He died at 27. My mother died, quick out of the blue. My son's mother passed away in her 30s. So I've dealt with that. I've had health crisis my whole life. So it's
the older we get, the more we see our friends and family.
Yeah, we're getting older. I mean, I'm 56 this year. We're getting older. Whatever. We just go. We just do what we do. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be one. To me, it's like I tell you whenever we talk about death metal from the grave. We're not the blah 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 band. We're the one that really tried to bring death into the music of heavy metal. That's kind of what we came out to do. And I think with this one, it's really there. A lot of emotional jams and stuff. I mean, I hear everything on there from Surth on Gold to Voivod to Artillery, which is, a wide to Warlord to like Grace Under Pressure era Rush. Some Manila Road on there, of course, some Sabbath. I have a big thing for like the Sabbath tunes that in the Dio Mach 1 era. Lonely is the word over and over. Those two tunes, very emotional.
Oh yeah,
that's important to me to make the riffs and the vibe of the record go where it needs to go. And I'm very proud of it. It's going to be I think fucking damn good.
Yeah, and that's the special thing about Deceased. It may have turned some people off because you weren't always the rah 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 band. Even on the early albums, there might have been more of a punk vibe in some of your stuff, but it was always heavy metal at the forefront with some death metal flourishes. As you guys went on, the heavy metal kind of eased out the punk, I think, a little bit. It's still there once in a while.
There's punkness to it. There's still some of that. I mean, we still love that stuff too. The weird, the creepy weirdness of Dead Kennedys, or the cool jams of like the Forward into Battle era English Dogs, and of course the Voivod is somewhere in that loop too, with punk, not punk, whatever, what the hell they are. We just do what we do. You know what I'm saying? And I'm really happy about that. And some people are like, oh, well, they went more heavy metal as time went on. I don't think so. I think we've always had tons of heavy metal in our music. I mean, you go back to our very first demo, and there was an instrumental, March of the Cadavers. It was right out of it was Battle Hymns, Man of War. That's what that riff was written for. And then there was sick thrash on there. So people like, oh, then you had thrash. Whatever comes out, comes out. You know what I'm saying? There's more melody. There's more guitar leads. We've been doing this for fucking 40 years. Next year it'll be 40 years. I hope our guitar playing is better. I hope we can do harmonies that we couldn't do when we were 17, 16, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Great news. So we're looking towards the end of the year, a new Deceased album. Always a treasure. Ghostly White was awesome. Great. Alan, do you have anything for King before we move on to the next topic?
No, just really glad to have him on. It's been been too
Just
long.
remember, hey, one thing, Alan, make sure you sign that centerfold me. You sent me. You didn't sign it. I'm going to send it back. You sign it. Send it back to me.
I'll autograph it, right through the middle, Dr. Alan Wadsworth, Professor Steele, the 27.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Hey, another big thing that's been going on. This has been percolating in the works for a very long fucking time, and it's starting to kind of come to fruition. You've got a documentary crew that's been working on a documentary on your life, not just deceased. It's about King Fowley.
King of Metal Life.
King of Metal Life. Could you talk a little bit about it? I mean, are we at the end? Is it about ready to start going down the road and actually getting into production? Or
I mean, the thing I like about this, Patrick, who's doing it all, is some people could say it's taken a long time to do it, but he's doing it his way. He's doing it the way he wants to do it, and he's not rushing something just to throw it out there. He wants this thing to he wants this thing to go into the movie theaters. He wants this thing to play Sundance. Whether it does or not, who knows? I guess it is a crapshoot, a lot of this stuff, but I believe in him, and he's so far everything we've, set out to do is getting done. We just got hold of a bunch of Ken Burns, who's a big documentary maker. Some of his crew is now working on the movie too, and they came to my house for 2 days. They were up here at my house. We went down to my parents' grave and a lot of stuff. We did a lot of stuff there, but there's hours of footage. Now you have years of different looks and vibes, and a couple albums have come and gone. We lost our drummer Dave in 2018. Things happen as this goes on, and it's kind of in a weird way, it's awkward, but in a weird way, it's pretty cool and pretty unique too. It's not just a moment in time. There's a lot of time. There's got to be at least 250 hours of footage.
Wow.
He's been doing this for years and years and years now, but it's coming together nicely. I mean, we're getting past everything's filmed now pretty much. It's just now it's coming down to the editing stuff. He's doing some, I know he's doing some animation right now on some of the some of the stories that there's no footage of it happening, and he's making some little animation stuff going on now. So I just wait when it's done. It's done. But I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. When I first got involved with it, when he said, we should do a movie on your life, I chuckled because it's just my life. Sure, I care about my life. Does a bunch of fucking people want to see about my life? Maybe not. I watch Thor. I'll watch Bobby Liebling. I've watched Lemmy. I've watched, all this stuff. And it's neat to, check out, just a little inside of somebody's life and things. It'll be cool like that. But we're trying to make it a little bit more to it. We're trying to really I don't want to say a Rocky vibe, but just a real person that grew up, loving heavy metal and being crazy and, being a drug addict, almost dying, being a, alcoholic, almost dying, getting through all of that, dealing with a lot of shit. And but we're all dealing with our own lives in different ways. I try to be the everyday kind of, crazy motherfucker. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I think you succeeded.
King of Metal Life, and I would say it's a little over a year out. It should be something like that. Maybe 2026, I think is when it's finally going to be done.
Well, it's a lot of hours to sift through to, it's probably a lot of great footage. I mean, what hits the floor?
Patrick rolled in here with 37 hard drives of shit or something, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, editing that kind of thing together takes forever.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the update, King. Again, it's great to see you. It's been a while since you've been on. I can't remember the last show we did together, but was it Saxon?
I think it was that 700-hour Saxon thing we did.
I was looking at that the other day. It said almost 4,000 or 6,000 views. I don't know. It's a lot. There's a lot of people watch that. I'm like, holy shit, really?
They better off. We sat through a lot of fucking Saxon.
Oh, jeez.
I go today just to sharpen up my 1988. And sure fucking enough, if Saxon didn't have a fucking album.
well, I hate to break it to you, but since they have a new album out, we've got to redo the entire thing.
No, I'm gonna be suddenly not well that day.
Yeah, I've got a director named Patrick that's got plenty of hours of footage of me. We'll edit it together. It looks like an answer everything I'm supposed to.
Max Headroom Fowley. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, awesome, and we're here for a reason tonight. Alan, what did we end up doing tonight?
We are doing This Year in Metal 1988. This is one of the last years from the mid to late 80s that we haven't covered. So, yeah, we're going to see what was going on in the metal scene, talk about, some of our favorite albums, maybe some albums that were not our favorites, but were noteworthy from the year nevertheless. Because it's right there, in the kind of heart of the heavy metal of the 80s. Glam is a big thing, thrash is a big thing, but you're not, you don't have grunge or stuff like that on the radar yet, and death metal's just getting started. So you're in kind of pure traditional 80s heavy metal high times. But there's some interesting things about the year I'm sure we will get into here pretty quick.
Well, you're the guest, King. We'll start with you. Size up 1988 from your life perspective, and maybe then just talk about your first pick from there. What were you doing in 1988? I
had recovered from drugs. I quit drugs in 86, 87. So I was back out we were pushing to cease. We had just got less in the band, so we were working on our Birth Radiation demo. Just going to shows, lots of club shows. I was kind of getting away from the arena shows that, a lot of the Maidens and Sabbaths and Priests, and kind of not ducking those, but basically lots of bar shows and stuff, seeing lots of bands of the times, coming up the ranks and stuff, out a lot. Definitely followed Voivod on the Dimension Hatros tour for at least probably 7 to 10 shows at this time. Just kept driving every day and hanging with them. So that was kind of like my big vibe for 88. Just kind of building the band mainly more than anything, and just trying to get my, back out on the recovered from the drugs thing and just doing that. But buying or stealing lots of records that year, whatever I had to do to have what I needed. We'd go out and we'd do our thing. But just collecting records and stuff. Mm-hmm. And for me, 88 was 88's a good year for music. It's not the greatest. I mean, I look today at a lot of the metal stuff, stuff, I'm sure you guys are the same way. Stuff you're like, well, is it 88? Is it 87? Was it really 89? Maybe you didn't hear something, or something came out right at the beginning or the tip of the end of it, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I don't know if you're going from your favorites backwards or just some of your favorites or how you want to do this, but I'll just be, it's easy for me, and it's going to throw people because I told a friend today, my buddy Lou, what number one was, but it's actually not number one. I just wanted to fuck with him a little earlier. People would say King's got to be Voivod Dimension Hatros. Okay.
I would have guessed that. It's one of mine. It's one of mine for sure.
Well, it's actually not. My favorite record after looking at everything today and thinking it all over is Operation Mindcrime from Queensryche.
Oh, interesting.
That's my number one. That record is incredible start to finish. That band had one of the best runs ever, from the EP to The Warning to Rage for Order to Operation Mindcrime. Didn't start to lose me much till Empire, which was still a decent record, but much more written for the radio by that time. I thought this was a great concept record, and I still all the time play it. Love every song. Love the depth to it, the intensity, just how many songs there can be and how it just keeps working for me. So Operation Mindcrime actually takes it for me as my absolute favorite heavy metal record of 1988.
I recently, I would say in the last couple of years, picked up a copy of Mindcrime used in a CD bin. I've never owned it. And then listening to it, it kind of amazed me, the fact that it reminded me, you're all going to laugh, a bit of King Diamond. It had the concept album feel, the production, something about it. I'm like, God, this feels a lot like a King Diamond record. I don't know if it's just the way they structured it with the concept. I don't know, but it's a great record. I don't know how it evaded me back in the day, other than, all the shit on MTV and stuff. And I was getting starting to go a little more extreme, I guess, but I don't know. They
found a nice spot where they could get radio play with some really good songs that were damn good songs, and made it on the radios too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, basically at this time, they were looking for an image still. They were just didn't have one. That EP came out. I saw them on that tour with Twisted Sister. They were just a young heavy metal band. Then they did The Warning. They were kind of building, but didn't break any new ground. Rage for Order, they tried to turn into these gothic, weird looking vampires. That was just fruity as hell.
It's a good record, though. It's a great record.
As hell. On this one, I think they kind of just let up a little bit. And Jeff Tate, Jeff Tate's just not a metal guy. He just,
goofy.
He wanted to be David Bowie, I think, since the get-go.
Yeah.
But they basically when they came out, I've never seen, I'm not a Metallica guy. We all know this. I know you guys know this. I actually went to the concert to go see Queensryche, but I had no ticket. All my buddies were there. We're like, all right, let's just try to get tickets at the door. Let's buy them from scalpers. I got a hold of a front row ticket for that concert. And I was getting ready to go in, but nobody else of my guys could get one. We ended up not going to the concert. I literally sold the ticket I bought back to somebody else. So I didn't see that tour. The next tour was Empire when they came back. And on that tour for Empire, they actually did the entire Operation Mindcrime because they were headliners then. And I saw them with Suicidal Tendencies opening do that entire record. And that was one of the most intense moments of my life, because to me, that's a perfect record. Perfect. In every way. The choruses, the playing, the drumming. I mean, Scott Rockenfield has to be one of the best drummers to ever play in the heavy metal, hard rock, whatever the hell you want to call Queensryche overall spectrum. And I just go back and I play it all the time, and I just love it. The New Deceased is got a lot of influence from that album too, as a concept record, kind of how they laid it out in a way. Yeah. We've got some in between stuff too on our record as well. So that record is the one for me. I mean, I love My Dimension Hatros, and I can talk about that too. But
we're getting there.
Yeah, I'm sure. And number one for me is being truthful is Operation Mindcrime.
They did finally get their commercial breakthrough. I mean, Empire had Silent Lucidity on it, and Jet City Woman, which I like both of those songs.
Empire, they had song.
Yeah, a bunch of singles.
Silent Lucidity separated. That kind of, that's when I started seeing like the Queensryche on the back of trucks, and it was different. And I know they went that way. They couldn't go any further the way they were going.
Yeah,
and I think they never recovered. I mean, basically, to me, that EP, The Warning, Rage Forward, and Operation Mindcrime are all 100 out of 100s. And then nothing ever came even close. Empire's like about an 80 to me. And then I actually like Promised Land better. I thought Promised Land was more like an 83. But after that, it became alternative college rock, a lost band. Jeff Tate just, sold them out. DeGarmo walked. That run they had, to me, is one of the greatest in the history of any bands I've listened to in my lifetime.
Yeah. Good start, good pick. Alan, same question. What were you doing in 1988?
Let's see. 88 was first year of high school, I think. So right in that age, 14, 15-ish. I wasn't into metal just yet. I was becoming a bit more aware of it. More friends were starting to listen to bits of it here and there, but I wasn't actually buying or really listening to anything in 88. It'd be 89 before, I'd really dive into it myself. So yeah, I was hearing it around me. I was seeing stuff on MTV, very aware of that. My sister was actually into, some more like, the hair glam kind of stuff a little bit. So, there were, the occasional, magazines floating around the house that I might flip through. So kind of aware of it, but yeah, hadn't actually dived into it myself just yet. So yeah, everything from 88, I ended up picking up later. Yeah, we'll just do favorites first. I know what Marty's going to pick. And King's, yeah, I like King's pick. He and I kind of agree on the whole Queensryche catalog he just rattled through. For me, favorite from 88, though, would have to be this one, Keepers Part 2 from Halloween. Part 1 I like better, but Part 2, is still a fantastic album. It's a little different. Again, the writing is, different. The first album is more of a Kai album. This one's, more of a Wyke album. And there were tensions going on within the band by this point, but the album still holds up incredibly well. It's got one of the best opening tracks ever with Eagle Fly Free. It's got several other good ones.
Save Us, March of Time. Holy fuck.
Yeah, there's just, the hits keep coming with this one. It does have, you got March of Time, I Want Out, possibly their biggest anthem. You do run into, the goofy songs here, which is usually why some people are a little more borderline with this.
That's me.
And that's fair. I get why those songs don't work for some folks. For me, Halloween has always been one of the very few bands that can pull off those type of songs without them just, ending up, in the toilet. A lot of bands try and it just doesn't work. There's something about Halloween where it clicks. Part of it may have just been that the band's attitude from very early on was always kind of lighthearted. In pictures, they were always goofing around. They were actually smiling. They weren't trying to pretend they were some kind of, badass street gang that was going to beat the shit out of anybody for pointing a camera at them. Yeah, they were young guys. They were happy. They were goofy, and they were kind of positive about it. So I always figured that was part of the reason that the fun songs actually turned out, pretty good. But I do get it that there may some of them, they are silly, and that's just, not going to, connect with some folks. But yeah, fantastic album. It's their last, really top-notch album for quite a while after this. Things, they get into all the legal issues. They, basically be put on ice by their own label while, lawsuits were worked out. When they came back, they just weren't the same. They would get really good again years later with a revamped lineup and kind of having a second lease on life. But, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2, it's the end of an era. If we just ended Halloween right here and we just had the EP, Walls of Jericho, and these two albums, they would be bar none my favorite band of all time. All four of those releases for me are like A+ material. There's almost nothing about those first four Halloween releases that I don't like. But and they still rank very high with me. It's just that, yeah, there's, a little bit more of a, shall we say, rise and fall through parts of the catalog. But
just like Alan Centerfold.
that only rises.
Set yourself up for that. But if we're replying to that, for me, I was never big on Halloween. I don't know what it was. I bought the EP, it was okay. I first got a hold of Halloween from the death metal comp all those years ago, where they, of course, weren't death metal. But like I said earlier, we were talking about Deceased. There was a different vibe to death metal back then.
Yeah.
You were thinking about anything heavy, and it was metal. It could be death metal. Metal Church was Surf on Gold, blah, blah, blah. Didn't care for the vocals mostly on the early stuff. Didn't care for that. Walls of Jericho, at times, there's some moments, but I don't like it as much. Most people love that. Obviously, Alan worships it, and that's great.
Yeah,
there you go. Another one. For me, the first thing that ever really clicked with me with Halloween was Halloween. When I saw it on MTV, when they premiered the video, when that came out, I loved it. Loved the vocals, man. I was like, oh, man. So I went and got that record, and I really, really liked part one. I'm Alive.
It's a better album. I think the song is more consistent, less goofy.
It's just more intense. And, they were like, you could tell they were like probably shaved their chest hair and all that kind of shit, but it was harmless. They were decent, they were decent. And then, then came that Headbangers Ball with Armored Saint and Grim Reaper and them. And didn't see that, but watched the concert on there. I said, they're not bad. It's pretty good. So I was expecting part two to be somewhere in that league. When I got that one, I guess I heard the goofy side of it. And it just didn't hit me like part one did. I Won Out wasn't bad. Still a decent song. Still really, really think that's Michael Kiske, however you say his name. Hell of a singer.
The voice.
Really, I mean, the German Jeff Tate, I guess you could call it.
Yep. Fair. That's a good way to describe it.
Very, very disappointed with that one, but never being a big Halloween guy, quickly wasn't that disappointed when it came. I was hoping they would continue on more like that, because I love the song Halloween. I love the song I'm Alive, and I was looking for more like that. And I Won Out was decent. I remember seeing the video on MTV, and then it was kind of like that was it for me. And then, as you said, they kind of went away. I didn't know all the backstory to that. And then I know they came back. They had that other singer. I don't like that guy at all. That I hear sometimes he reminds me of Axl Rose or something, when he's kind of screechy in parts. And it's just like, I'm used to one certain characteristic of Halloween, that being the Jeff Tate, operatic, whatever you want to call it, vocals when he was in the band, and that vibe. And it's just not the same. People live for the Kai Hansen jams of, they think he's a great player and love the Gamma Ray too. Gamma Ray is kind of the same thing for me, though. The one album, Land of the Free, phenomenal. I call that they're one of those bands for me. I say, even the sun shines on a dog's ass once in a while.
Yeah.
That's the one album by them I really like. I got nothing against any of them at all. It's just, I try to play the records and I listen. It just kind of comes and goes. Obvious tons of talent there, but it just seemed to come together for Gamma Ray with the Land of the Free for me, and for Halloween with part one. So this one, rating it, I would give it probably a C- for me. Didn't play it a lot. I'm going to go back and like it more now. I probably will play it after this tonight just to try it, but that's how I felt about that record.
Yeah. No, it was, for me, I mean, obviously, they're one of my favorite bands. They just are. And that was a huge record. After that, obviously, their shit was harder to find. Pink Bubbles Go Ape wasn't a great record. Chameleon, not a good record. But they...
Hamsters.
Yeah. Yep. I like some songs on that, but it's like, obviously, there was problems. Tired writing or problems in the band, whatever. But Keepers 2, there's some goofy stuff on there that to this day, I enjoy it because it's a nostalgia thing for me, but I could live without some of the songs, you know. Whereas Part 1, nah, that's pretty consistently amazing from start to finish. Anyway, for me, 1988.
What's your favorite, Marty?
I don't have a favorite. My shit's all disorganized as usual. But
I know we both did favorites. You got to do your favorite too.
That's not fair.
Yeah, don't be an asshole.
After this, we can just do whatever random order. But yeah, let's do favorites first since we've been on that track.
Well, I'll do this then. All right. 1988. I was a junior in high school.
It's a self-titled Vixen album, isn't it?
No, Vixen.
Damn.
Vixen. No,
Thought I
no
had.
Vixen. And yeah, I was just devouring heavy metal. I started getting into it in junior high school. A friend of mine got me into metal. Metallica was a big band gateway for me. Merciful Fate was a big gateway band for me. Celtic Frost, all that stuff. You know, the young hearing things for the first time and being blown away. You know, it wasn't Dio, it wasn't Ozzy, it wasn't Kiss. Heavy, devouring. And I'm looking at this year, and I'm just blown away at all the bangers. It's just amazing. King's like, oh, it's an okay year. I mean, you're a few years older than I am.
Yeah,
for me,
I'm like bangers.
Yeah,
It's
this
like
is.
banging ahead.
I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm like, wow, you know, this is just a lot. And I tried to pick only things that I was obsessed with back then. And this would be probably my favorite record. This is a radio promo, obviously. It's been written all over and partied on. But Dimension Hatros, Voivod. This is my favorite Voivod record. This thing to this day, I put it on. I can air guitar, sing along every word. It's just, God, I love the production of it. It's got the right amount of reverb. It sounds perfect. It's recorded perfectly. And I will say the only thing I don't like about this is the CD version with the Batman cover. They kind of ruin it on the end. They have great flow, concept, awesome. Then they throw Batman on the end, which is silly. It should have been
Called an off button, Marty.
Yeah, I know. But it still doesn't hurt the record for me. This thing is, I don't want to say the best they ever were, because that's not true. It's not true. They put out so many great records. But this is my favorite, hands down. I mean, I love the shit that came before it. I struggled a bit with Nothing Face initially, but ended up loving it. I hated Angel Rat. Now I like it. It's just, they're a band. When they experimented, it may not have been what you want, but it was designed to get you down the road as you matured and grew up with them. And
I think Voivod was just ahead of the game before a lot of people were.
They really were.
Time for people to catch up to what they were doing, and now they love a lot of records that they may not have then.
Yep.
You know, I'll let you finish and I'll talk.
The phrasing, the way Snake sings over Piggy's, you know, tuning style and tone, and that blower bass, Blackie bass tone. I mean, what a perfect, and you know, the album after this is the one thing that really turned me on about Nothing Face is hearing Piggy and Blackie interact with each other. It was kind of like call and response. They were playing like different things, but it somehow linked up together. Like they were building a robot sonically in front of your ears. It was amazing. And here, this was just a very awesome conceptually, sonically, the concept, the was an awesome story, and the music fits it perfectly. This is just I'm not tired. I've listened to this album a million times. I'm still not tired of it. King, I know you want to go, so I'll let you go. But fucking A, what an album. It's still to this day, they've never beat it in my mind.
Perfect record. I'm right there with you, brother. I mean, it could have beat Operation Mindcrime. I was just before I did this, I was thinking I just played Operation Mindcrime a little bit more over the years for whatever reason. But dude, that is a perfect record. I love the sound of that record, the air that's in there. It's
so
like,
good, atmosphere. So good.
It's weird. It's almost like you're listening to it through a pipe or something. Like, what's on the other end of this fucking sewage pipe? And it's like, hey. I remember getting the advance of that record and being blown away. I remember some people that were big into them are like, oh man, they're not playing fast at all anymore. There's no fast on here, which there really isn't, but didn't need it.
No.
A lot of people had said, I don't say a lot of people, but some people back then had said that Voivod had sold out on Killing Technology. Snake's singing now. That first song, what is it, Killing Technology? That sounds like Mr. Roboto from Styx. You know, I remember hearing that from Pat from Hellwitch told me that one time. Anyway, so when I got this one, I immediately fell in love with it too. The concept, the weirdness, just reading the lyrics and just that broken French Canadian weird lyrical thing. It was working again, but it was working. The first one was like the barbaric cave. The second one was like busting out of that cave. The third one was like going past the cave into the sky, into outer space. And this one's like beyond space. And now you're in dimension. Hatros, every song, everything. Snake's vocals, he had a lot of twist to him, a lot of punk in him. I hear a lot of I hear a lot of Johnny Rotten on this record.
Yeah,
from him on this one. Piggy was really taking charge, which he really took. He was always the leader of the band musically, obviously, but he really came to some weird, odd stuff. And then Away was starting to get those awkward beats, which we know they built from going forward.
Yep.
It's perfect. The album artwork, the monster, the way he wrote the lyrics and all that shit was just, it all hit me. And as I said earlier, I know I saw him at least 8 to 10 times on that tour. We followed him everywhere for like literally 2 weeks. And it was unbelievable. I hung out every time. That's when I really, really became best friends with them. I'd seen them when they first played ever, and it was a one-off thing. I saw them on Killing Technology. That's when I was quitting drugs. It was a one-night thing. This was the next tour. And I said, look, I'm good. I'm going. I'll see you at every show. And they took care of us. And we just became the best of friends then, too. So that's also part of all this, including the music. So it's unbelievable.
They're good people behind the music.
Oh, they're still the exact same people to this day. And basically, when it was said and done at the end of the year, I was just like, man, this Voivod is just going to be one of these bands that every record's going to be like Rush. You don't know where they're going to go, but you want to go there and be with them.
Yeah. And I got to say, I think they went in the right direction. People say they sold out. I mean, I like the charm of War and Pain. Roar I like, but it's kind of a mess. That record is kind of it's a hard driving, in-your-face blast.
It's intentional, though. It's supposed to be all knobs to the right, loud. It's called Roar, dude.
Yeah, I know. But it just, the structures of it, it's hard to process. It isn't a welcoming album.
I forget one thing before I let Alan talk. Tribal Convictions. They basically had their first hit. That was a big Headbangers Ball tune.
Yeah.
Really, that song really did them well. And, Voivod's not an easy band to sell somebody on one time out. That a lot of people are like, oh, it's weird. It's awkward. Are they playing it right? Are they in tune? Why is the singer singing like that? Some people just don't get it. And that's great. They don't get it. It is for those that do. And, it's just, like you said, man, it's perfection, dude. It just is perfection.
It's perfection. 100%. Alan, do you have anything? I know they're not a favorite of yours, Alan. Is there anything you want to add to that before we put King back on here?
Yeah, it's a good album, but yeah, Voivod's a band that's always been tough for me to get into. All the respect in the world, I take nothing away from them. Some of their albums I like, including this one. Some of their stuff I've just never been able to wrap my head around, but that's just me. It's not them, it's me. I'll take the hit on that one for sure.
I can't dock anybody for not liking them.
I get it. I
don't
like them at all.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but yeah,
I had one friend tell me on the last album, he said, "Is the CD stuck?" He said, "It's not like it's the CD stuck." I'm like, "No, fucking play it, dude." And that's fine. To each their own,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do like this era with like Killing Technology. Hatros is pretty good. Hatros might be the only one I still have a physical copy of. So yeah, it's always hung around.
Yeah. All right, King. Go ahead.
I have a list of stuff I like from this year, and that literally fell into place where you and me, Marty, this Dimension Hatros would have been 2. So I'm just going to go 3, and then after that, next round I'll just run all over the place. Sure. This is an outside crazy one, but I think I love this band. They're still around. They're still the coolest band to me. If I was to have like the first band to ever be nominated to the True Underground Heavy Metal Hall of Fame, it would be these guys. And I'm talking about Raven.
Someone just mentioned that one in the chat. Yep.
Nothing Exceeds Like Excess. That is a phenomenal record at a time when nobody was listening to Raven. They came up to Philly and they played that Ultimate Revenge thing, and it was Death and Dark Angel and Forbidden and Raven, and half the people left when Raven had played. I wasn't there. I have video footage of it, but that's the times. The record was incredible. They just come off being on the major label with they did a couple records over there, as we all know. Stay Hard, The Pack Is Back, the Mad EP, and Life's a Bitch. And now they were back on, and they had Joe Hasselvander from Pentagram on drums. And I got that record. I said, man, I still love Raven. And I put that fucking CD in my car. Actually, I think it was a tape I got then. And every song just kicked my ass from start to finish. I loved it so much, and I still do. I think it's their third best record behind Wiped Out 1, Rockin' Till You Drop 2, and for me, this is 3. This is overall for 1 for me. Those are my favorite three, and I think this is a dark horse. I don't think this is on either of your guys' list, or probably not even in your mind for it. But I think it's a fantastic record, and I love Raven. I'll send a shout out to John and Mark, especially. They're still out there doing it all the time and playing to whoever's in the fucking room, man.
Mm-hmm. We talked about them last week. Actually, I showed. I don't remember which one I showed, but
cheers.
You know, their last tour of the U.S. I watched a couple live videos, and they're playing to empty rooms, man. But they're kicking ass.
They have their
moments.
It doesn't matter.
They
have some big things. I mean, you take on the stuff they do. You go and go and go, and you play every night. Most bands will be having nights where it can be slow. I mean, I've seen them with a pack room. I've seen them with no one. They still play their ass off.
Yeah, they do.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, Wiped Out is my favorite new wave of British heavy metal record of all time. So when they played that last time around, you damn right I was there singing every fucking lyric in the room. You know, I don't care if I was the only one that knew the lyrics to the song Star Wars, you know. But I'm giving it to that. I'm giving it to that. I know there's a record that you probably thought I was going to say. I won't, you know, it'll come around eventually. You guys will probably beat me to it. But that for me that's my third pick.
Right on.
Oh, that's a cool one. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, you know, that album did get overlooked simply because they were coming off the Atlantic deal, and that did hurt them. That era did cost them a lot of attention. One of those
bands at the time, nobody seemed to give it, you know, if it wasn't, you know, there was that time, if it wasn't as fast as Slayer or blah, 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 people weren't listening, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Yeah, my first Raven album was Stay Hard on tape, and had its moments, but not good. Not a great record.
And just before you go on, we're going to have a little trivia thing. Samantha Fox covered a Raven song.
Which one?
She covered fucking Hard Ride.
Samantha Fox sang?
She did Hard Ride, but I don't know if she sang. She shook to it.
No, she had 2 hits. I want to have some fun, and then Touch Me. Touch Me.
Samantha Fox sang?
Yeah,
she
2
did,
hits.
She did Hard Ride, but they changed it to Hard Times. And it's the song. And I was actually asking John about it. He's like, never saw a goddamn penny from it. But it's out there. If anybody's, you know, now go YouTube it. It's on there. It's fucking her doing a Raven cover, which is wild. Samantha Fox, nice as hell, fun as shit. Totally cool chick. She had no idea what I was talking about when I said it. Somebody probably threw it at her.
Right? Shit, why don't you do this song? Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't all they threw at her.
I didn't know she sang. I must have been distracted by something else.
Yeah. Well, that helped her sing.
I want to have some fun, work my body all night long.
Mm-hmm. That's the one. All right, Alan, what's your next pick?
All right, my next one. This could be my number one. In some points in time, it probably has been. So it's really close with the Halloween one. But this album also is way, way up there for me. Riot returned with a new formula and released Thundersteel to minimal applause. But this album is just a crusher.
I love it. It's a great record.
They're my favorite band in heavy metal, and this is one of their best albums for me. Now, I know some folks didn't like the style change, and I can imagine it was very jarring to have them come back after like about a 5-year absence, and they've gone from Rhett Forrester kind of blues based hard rock metal, which they were good at, to something that sounds more like really power speed European metal in a lot of ways. But the first, what is it? There's 9 songs on here. The first 7 tracks are flawless. I could listen to these first 7 tracks forever and just still love them. The last 2 on the album, I think the album does kind of wind down a bit at that point. But yeah, tracks 1 through 7 are just magnificent. You've got a killer lineup assembled out of the ashes of the old. Really, I mean, it's Mark and a bunch of new guys, and it just is flat out amazing. I think one thing that makes it kind of special too is they didn't stay in this style very long. They did this album. The follow-up was kind of still in this style, but got kind of weird. I like the weird on that album, but for a lot of folks, it just was too out there. But then after that, they moved on to a new lineup and took a new direction. So it's not like they did Thundersteel 2 and Thundersteel 3 and Thundersteel 4. You kind of have just this and the good parts from Privilege of Power, and that's it. You just have this one little window where they played this style, but they completely owned this style. It was very much something that sounded like it could have been on Noise Records at the time, but it's better than pretty much anything that was coming out of Europe. They kind of beat Europe at their own game, on their first attempt, and quickly just like, okay, 2 albums later, they're recording stuff with Mike DeMeo and going in more of a hard rock direction again, and they're great at that too. But yeah, love this album to death. It's ask me in 6 months, and I might have this number 1, and I might put Keeper of the Seven Keys at number 2 for 1988.
Yeah, well, Keeper of the Seven Keys is number 2.
There's a symmetry there for sure.
No, good people. You want to answer that, Marty?
I'm late to Riot. I'm late to that album. I got that a couple years ago, and I think it's great. I probably would have loved it if I heard it back in the day, but I just never came across it in my digging and hunting. So, no. What about you, King?
I remember Outlaw on the radio when I was a kid, maybe 12, 13 years old. Remember them playing that in my local rock radios in D.C. Loved the tune, thought it was cool, had no idea who it was. My first real lock-in with Riot was Midnight Monday Metal, DC 101, with Riot Restless Breed. They played the whole record at midnight. Loved the shit out of it. Still love the shit out of it. Rhett Forrester is one of my top 7 metal singers of all time.
Great voice.
In peace. Loved Born in America, that quality records on, unquality records. Fantastic. Got a hold of this one, was disappointed. Reason being disappointed, just because of the sound. Most people are going to say Guy Speranza, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I totally get it. And anybody that does not cheer for Mark Reel, rest in peace, there's something fucking wrong with you, because that man gave his all his entire fucking time going through it all, and some of the other guys too. But I was disappointed. I thought it was kind of like a hit to going towards what was more like, different from that. I liked the hard rock bluesiness with Rhett. He obviously died. They had to find a new direction. And they're playing their asses off on it. They for surely are. The drumming is insane, blah, 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 blah. I just don't think it sounds like Riot for me when I was into Riot. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can respect it and stuff. I'm not a Riot 5 guy, what they do now. I think they should just call it something else. When I went and saw Rick Ventura's Riot, I liked that much more. I thought it was more in, the Riot that I love. I'm Guy Speranza all the way through fucking Rhett Forrester. I like the what's Mike DeMeo. I like that. I really like the one record, Inishmore. That was more like a Rainbow Difficult to Cure kind of vibe to it to me. This one was kind of like Judas Priest, a little bit crazy jams on it and stuff, and I get it. They were, they moved on. They were trying to find a new way, new members. It's going to be written differently. I did nothing but respect for it, for what it is. I never play it. I just never play it. I don't know. I've got guys like, oh man, let's put on Thundersteel. I'm like, I love this one, right, King? I'm like, not really. And I ain't trying to be the odd guy in the room, but I'll be the one guy we put on fucking Born in America. And I want to sing You Burn in Me. I want to sing that both times, or Gunfighter, That's just for me that. I still give it a C, a straight up C for me on that one.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair. Yeah, and I can imagine, especially for folks who are already established Riot fans, hearing this come out, it had to be really jarring. It's just like a huge style change. So no, I get that.
Matt Flesh.
Wade is asking, what's a good starting point? He's never heard Riot.
I would take it all the way back. I'd go to Rock City and just go.
I'd be fine with Rock City too. I love that album to death.
If you want to hear some of the one with them, but maybe Fire Down Under would be the one most would probably say to start.
And that's what I was going to say, simply because
a little bit more together. But Rock City to me, you get Warrior. That's the greatest Riot moment there is.
Yeah,
that's one of the greatest songs in the history of hard rock heavy metal music, right up there with Burn from Deep Purple.
Can't argue. But yeah, I'd say, Wade, maybe if not Rock City, Fire Down Under, simply because you'll hear a couple of the songs that get referenced the most with Outlaw and Swords of Tequila and Fire Down Under. And if you like that, then just go back and pick up our Rock City, because it's in the same style, mostly the same lineup. But yeah, Fire Down Under, you'll at least, it will give you the main touch points for the band. And they went through different stages. Again, those albums do, like King said, they sound really different from Thundersteel. And that sounds really different from what they did in the 90s. So
yeah, right.
You can't really listen to one Riot album and know what they sound like.
Now we're back to talking about Saxon again, where it just kept changing, and some people can go the whole distance. Voivod's the same way. Some people go the distance. If it works for you, it works for you.
You can go the whole distance, but I wouldn't recommend it in a 3 to 4 day period. It's
Saxon, no.
You did that to yourself, sir.
I know. Procrastination is the mother of invention. Hey,
I did it in 2 days.
Wilson Tam is asking which Raven album should be checked out for a complete noob.
Raven Wiped Out to me is the greatest new British metal record. That is an intense, crazy fucking record. I would go there. Probably a lot of people would say All for One, which is more controlled mayhem. Yeah. They're back to back. You're looking at, the early 80s stuff. I'd say Raven Wiped Out and Raven All for One.
Those sound like good starting points, yeah.
Good albums for sure.
Yeah. All right, Marty, what do you want to show for your next one?
Well, I apologize to everybody. I'm broken record. This is my formative years, so I've showed a lot of these records a lot over the years on Heavy Metallurgy, but I have a lot of number ones in this stack, and this would have been a number one if it wasn't for Voivod. Mind Wars, Holy Terror. My God, this is the first album I heard. They only had two, this and Terran Submission. I bought this on cassette at Camelot, waddled through Prangies to get to my vehicle. Hey, Mike, thanks so much for that. Appreciate you, man. Waddled through the clothing store to get to my vehicle, took it out of the case, put it in the tape deck, and Judas Reward, every hair on the back of my neck stood up, goosebumps. I'm like, holy crap. This thing is...
No, Holy Terror.
No, Holy Terror. This is speed metal on coke, probably literally.
Yes, literally.
It is fast, super intricate, savage riffage. Keith Dean, rest in peace. I don't know how he found vocal melody lines to put over this music. And he did. He crammed a lot of words into these songs, kind of like John Arch, but on speed. He had a melodious pitch singing style over a really aggressive speed metal leaning thrash.
I don't think there's a faster vocal line ever than Do Unto Others. That one part on there where he's just he's going nuts.
System will work, but for human nature, people are screwed. Yeah,
that's that. See?
Yeah,
yeah. It's amazing how much he can cram in.
This is
now we're back to Samantha Fox.
Yes. If you've never heard Holy Terror, please go get Mind Wars. This is a great record. It really is a shame they disintegrated after this. I mean, I don't know how they would have followed this up. What do they do? Go more groove? I don't know. Probably. That's kind of the way the things were going for thrash at that point. But man, super savage guitar riffs, amazing singer, cramming tons and tons and tons of words into, it's only our second pull, Tim. I'm getting there. It's in the pile. Just be patient. Yep. Holy Terror, Mind Wars. This could have been a number one for me as well. I love this band. I like Terran Submission as well. I don't think it's as good as this record. It was cool that they had their own unique sound, which back then was a thing. Nowadays, not so much a thing,
I think, Alan, you want to go next or you want me to go?
Oh, go ahead, King.
Go ahead. Terran Submission was okay. It was very raw. It was totally different from this, really. I mean, you could hear a couple things here and there, but definitely not Mind Wars. I wasn't expecting much from Mind Wars when it came out. And I actually I had a magazine at the time called Morbid Terror. And I got sent the promo album for this. And I put it on. And I said, man, these fuckers have upped the game hard as hell. Now, obviously some of these guys come from the Agent Steel school. So that Agent Steel flying guitar is there and present, but it's more intense. The drumming's more intense. The singing is unreal. I mean, that guy, he pronunciates. He says it all. That ain't mumbled through like Slayer and all that kind of shit. This shit is that shit was strong. I actually saw them twice on this tour. They opened for Creator and DRI for 2 nights. They actually gave me a Mind Wars shirt, but then Creator gave me a Tankard shirt from them the next night, so I gave up the Holy Terror shirt to wear the Tankard shirt, so I didn't get the Holy Terror shirt. But they were great guys. They were definitely partying motherfuckers. I see why they went down in in the fucking flames.
Yeah.
But they could play their ass off on stage. That's what it was. I mean, they were definitely like Speedy Gonzalez on cocaine. I mean, it was faster live. I mean, it was intense as shit. It's a great record. It's well written. Do Unto Others is my track. I think it's just so intense. And I saw somebody down here saying it was kind of like keeping with Slayer, like Slayer had lost it. These guys were moving and grooving and doing the stuff, and Slayer was, to me, slowing down and dumbing down.
Yeah, I didn't like South of Heaven initially.
On stage, they were fucking good. That was a hell of a thing. It was them, and Creator was doing Terrible Certainty, and DRI was doing, they were out there being DRI. It was a night of complete speed.
I bet.
I really like this record. Love the artwork.
Yeah,
everything about it. And I agree with you. I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's a fucking damn killer fucking record.
Yep. I mean, even the chorus on Judas Reward just
Oh, that's unbelievable. It's great.
filled with fucking lyrics. So crazy. Great. I look at it. I want to listen to it. I might listen to it tonight. We'll see what happens. But yeah, King, you're back. What's up? What's next on your list?
Now I kind of jump all over wherever I want to jump. I'm going to go. Well, I know you guys are going to. I'll say it because you're going to say it at some point. I'll leave Seventh Son for one of you guys. Okay, I know Iron Maiden always comes up here, and
we're all going to talk about it. So don't do whatever you want.
Yeah, for me, I'd like to go. I'm going to go. My buddy Eddie bought this record. He brought it home. He's like, man, this is going to be killer. And I looked at the artwork and I said, this looks stupid as shit. This fucking dumbass skull looks like it was drawn by a third grader. He put that record on. I ate all my fucking words. Rigor mortis. The first rigor mortis. This fucking thing ripped my fucking skull off all the way through. I would call it a perfect record only had they had backing guitar rhythms during the solos, because I always found when the solos came in, which were amazing,
it dropped out. Yeah.
The guitar drops out and it's just the bass, and it's not all there. It's not like Sabbath where it worked.
They wanted to keep it live. They didn't want to do a live and not have that.
It needed that. Because you could hear it. It definitely dropped out and under. But the songs, every song was a killer. Demons came right in and just smoked me, and I fucking love it. And then Capitol was looking for their Slayer. And I remember at the time they had all that promo stuff in the stores. You get like cooking with rigor mortis. It was beef stew, like sitting on the up at the fucking counter with eyeballs in it, and they had like an apron with blood all over it by rigor mortis. I don't have any of that shit. I remember I think it was also a Rubber Hand, rigor mortis on Capitol Records, blah blah blah. Went and saw them at 930 Club on that tour. Terrible turnout, but they were fucking killer. And we ended up playing with them years later. But this record, I mean, to me, it's one of the best speed thrash records of all time. It's definitely up there for me in this year.
I'm late to that band too. I always saw it at Camelot on the rack, and I looked at the cover and I'm like, man, that's a stupid fucking cover. I'm not. It's on Capitol Records. That's none of the labels I buy shit from, so right. I didn't buy it. But I got it later, and it, wow, what was I thinking? Type of situation. Alan, anything to say about rigor mortis?
No, I was late to that one too for kind of much the same reasons. It always seemed like one of those things like, I can pick that up anytime. I'll get something else.
Went out of print, and the CD was going for $300 in the long box.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, we didn't know that kind of thing was going to happen.
All right. Al, you're next. What's up? What you got?
All right. This was close to the top of the stack, and since King already mentioned it, good time to discuss this one. A lot of folks in the chat have been. Yep, Iron Maiden releases Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Proggy album, kind of a concept album, something that they'd worked on quite a bit. We know now, there's some tensions already going on behind the scenes. Apparently, Bruce wanted this album to be a lot longer, and others were kind of like, "Is this the direction we want to go?" But personally, I really like the album. I know it's different from what they had done earlier, but if it still sounds great. It's very consistent, start to finish. Nothing on here really that I don't like. So yeah, very solid album. I guess one reason I also tend to like this and kind of have a little sentimental attachment to it.
What's up, Mark?
Is that for me, it's the last really great Iron Maiden album. There are Iron Maiden albums after this that I like, that are good, there's good songs scattered here and there. But really, after this point, I'm hard pressed to find an album that I think is just really top notch, start to finish. There's a couple that are close that I'd give a good thumbs up to, but not trying to make it a hot take or anything. If I didn't own any Iron Maiden after Seventh Son, I'd be okay. I could move on with my life and not feel like I had lost a vital organ or anything.
That cough sounds like you're losing a vital organ.
yeah, still can't shake that.
That's the curse of fucking fear of the dark coming on your ass.
fear of the coof.
Fear of the coof.
But yeah, definitely one of them. And again, this is one of the things in '88 I was kind of aware of. One of the kids I sat behind in school had this on the back patch for his jacket. So I'd be we'd sit there in class and the teacher's going on about something. I'd just be looking at it, like, that's a messed up album cover, with I mean, we were literally like in health class, and you're that age, high school age, they're trying to talk about boys and girls and feelings and hormones. I'm looking
health class though,
and I'm looking at this thing. I'm just like, oh man, I hope he doesn't turn around and the teacher notices that, because this is going to get weird fast.
I think old Derek was smoking some weird shit when he came up with this concept.
Well, I remember them, in interviews later on, they said, this was kind of one of the first times they didn't have a great concept in terms of telling what they wanted. Before this, it was always kind of straightforward. We want future Eddie. We want Pharaoh Eddie. We want, Ripper Slasher, Jack the Ripper Eddie. And this time it was more like, we want like seventh son of a seventh son Eddie. He's like, what the fuck is that? Oh, I'll figure it out. And so I think, it worked pretty well. But yeah, he really didn't have marching orders from the band, and it was just kind of a wide open concept. And this is how it turned out. So yeah, a cool album, and at least for my money, it's the last of the essential must-have Iron Maiden albums.
Well, I'm refusing to talk about it until you do at least the chorus of Moonchild, Alan. Moonchild! I really liked the record at the time. Like I was saying when we first got on the show tonight, I wasn't going to a lot of arena shows. I did not see the tour. I was, probably on seeing Voivod when they probably came to town. Great fucking record, though. I was disappointed with the first single, Can I Play With Madness? I remember seeing it on Headbangers Ball and going, that's not the best single I've ever heard from Iron Maiden. I thought it was a little Irishy. I don't know what the fucking word I'm looking for is, but it was a little, the cowbell and stuff wasn't loving it. But that was the only really track on there I didn't. I mean, Moonchild's unbelievable. Infinite Dreams. Somebody had put down here The Clairvoyant, which is definitely one of the darkest tunes ever. The title track is unreal. There's some great stuff on this record.
Evil That Men Do, great song too.
Evil That Men Do is fantastic. What I remember about this album is Adrian Smith was very disappointed that they were starting to like speed up when they would play live on this tour, and right before this tour, everything was getting almost double timed live. He was like, I can't even play this shit live. I can't enjoy it anymore. And there was talk. This is something I've heard from some people I trust what they heard through the pipeline of down there. There was talk that Adrian Smith was going to be the keyboardist for a while. He was talking about being a keyboardist on this record, and it didn't happen, obviously. And I know Bruce had wanted to go Jethro Tullish since somewhere in time. So he, and then he had this concept thing, and Steve was still, this is my fucking band at the end of the day. And so, they probably put it all together, and they were the biggest metal band on the planet at that time. Metallica was coming, but fucking, it was still Iron Maiden was coming out here in these big ass tours, and fucking, they did what they did. And I think the record it's not perfect to me. I see some people saying it's their favorite, and that's cool. I like a lot of records past this one. Obviously, Alan doesn't. Iron Maiden's my favorite band of all time. Let me say that as we go down the line. Damn good record. I would say it's as good as Somewhere in Time. I would say it's better than No Prayer for the Dying, but I do like half of No Prayer for the Dying. The raw, simpleness of that. And going forward, I like Book of Souls is probably one of my favorites, and probably my favorite since that one. I still listen to it all the time. I love it. I prefer to listen to the live versions. I like that one show they did Made in England, where it was that tour.
Yeah.
They had, the opera got there, because the songs are a little bit more aggressive, and it's not so. Birch did a great job, but it's a little bit. It's Moonchild's just phenomenal on there, and you also get a couple tunes that they added to the set they never played live, like Still Life and things like that. So that's kind of what I go to for this one. But it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I still prefer Somewhere in Time a little bit better, but it's great. No complaints. They leaned into the synth stuff a little bit more. It's a lot more atmospheric than Somewhere in Time. I just there's a mystical aura on Somewhere in Time that I love. It's just always been their most mystical album sounding to me anyway. But
no, I agree with you. That one's got a neat sound to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to go fun. And my buddy Scott bought this tape, and it took me a minute to wrap my head around the vocals, but this is, to this day, this is an ultimate road trip album for me. I love everything that this band did while Blaine was in the band. But Martha Splatterhead's Maddest Stories Ever Told, I absolutely adore this record. I know things went kind of tits up with this band. Tommy is whatever, but man, what a riff writer. God, he's got such a tight right hand, palm muted crunch. He wrote the most sickest fucking crossover riffs ever. I love it.
Unique as hell player.
Unique as hell player, great songwriter. And then you throw Blaine's fucking sick twisted. You know, it's funny. I always thought to myself, how can a guy sing like that? Then you hear him talk, and it's like, oh, he talks like that.
we did a tour with them 2 years back. He
Yeah.
absolutely does.
I'm so bummed I couldn't make the Detroit show. It was like middle of the week. I'm like, I can't go in the middle of the week, King. You guys came through Sanctuary, I think.
Yeah, I said fuck you then. I'll say it again now. Fuck you, Marty.
I know. Stupid. And you know, they would have been great. But yeah, this, if you're not a fan of, I don't know, if you've never heard of this record, please just go buy it. I mean, the stage action there pretty much sums up what this record sounds like. Dreadlocks and
it's like your balls are on fire record for sure.
Yeah, love the cover art. It's got the Rat Fink looking art style. These guys were just great. It isn't just straight up punk or hardcore. It's a very metal record. It's a crossover record. It's great. I love it. It's so much fun. Everything that Blaine sang on, even their comeback, Oh Martha. I thought, man,
best comeback record of all time.
I know. I 100% agree. I'm like, this is no way this is going to be. I couldn't believe how good it was. It might be one of their best records. But
I agree.
This here, you know, you got the GBH cover on here, which is probably unnecessary, but they were buds. They toured together. I get it.
They always pick odd songs. You cover Olivia Newton-John or
the Devil Woman or, you know, whatever. But this is a Chef Kiss crossover end boss right here. Love it.
Fantastico. Alan, you want to say something? You want me to go?
Say it. Yeah, I don't know their catalog really well, but I like the stuff I've heard. I just don't know it inside out like y'all do. So I'll let you take it, King.
I think so, Mark. I think it is. I think that's the artist.
It's close to perfect too for me. I agree with what Marty said. The riffs are crazy. The arrangements are awkward, but everything is actually catchy and hookful. A lot of deceased arrangements, I think to my mind about the Accused, like you can, if as long as it works and it works for you, it works. And Blaine's just definitely one of my favorite vocalists of all time.
So
my main influences. Live, he's insane. I mean, the whole record's like your dick's on fire, or women, your clams on fire,
yep.
And you're running around crazy. I mean, it's like that. I saw them a couple times back then, and they were just as crazy as I was expecting live. Yeah. And I think that's their best record. Oh, Martha's close, but I think that's their best record. It's just so fucking intense. And they always like to put their little horror samples in there and stuff, which was something that wasn't that popular yet in, you know, almost say the underground. But they were everywhere and anywhere, and they did it, and they still do it, and they're legends for sure. And that's a phenomenal record from the time.
Thanks, King Snake. Jake, appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Mark, I do believe that is Jeff Gaither artwork. The name sounds familiar. I can't read in this light because my eyes are old and stupid. So, Kingsley, you're back. What you got? What's next?
I got this big list here. Some really bizarre ones.
Heard that about you.
I don't know how far we got. Here's one. Yeah, let me go. Here's one I think is a pretty fucking cool record and a cool band that I think we talked about before. They're under the radar for most, but those who know them, dig them, and love them. They're a band that's done a lot of different ideas, not a lot of records, but ideas. I'm going with Anacrusis, Suffering Hour.
Oh, very good one. Yep.
That is a vicious record. It's their most thrash and probably their most simplistic form, but it's a brilliant record. I mean, it is good. When I first got a hold of that record, I loved them. I found that at a record store called Record Exchange for like $2. Had no idea who they were or what they were. And that record kicked my ass. It's crazy. I love his vocals. It's a little screechy and just the riffs are crazy.
He sounds like when he screams, he sounds like he's skinning a cat.
You a big fan of that one too, Marty?
Love it. I think I like Reason a bit better. It's a little more personal, but I mean, this is fucking.
That's just, to me, that's scaled down in a Crucis at their finest.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a killer record. How about you, Alan?
Oh yeah, love that one. You're right. It's more straightforward than anything else they did, but calling it just a thrash album doesn't do it justice. It's way better than most thrash albums of its ilk. So yeah, if they had stayed in that style, they'd be regarded as, you know, one of the best thrash bands of that.
Yeah, and I still like what they did later too. I mean, that Manic Impressions was good and all that. They cover I Love the World. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep, lots of cool stuff. Yeah, they have a really good catalog. It's just they got.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going forward for me. I'm just going to throw stuff out there that some people would be like, well, okay, this is the next tier, but to me, these are all great fucking records.
Absolutely. So many good ones, man. This is a good year. Yeah.
We're at Alan.
Alan,
you got something?
I do. Okay. Yep. It's time to talk
hey,
about
King,
it.
Aaron's asking where that record is. Where was that Record Exchange?
Where was that Record Exchange?
Yeah.
There was actually 3 of them. The one I went to get this one was actually in Springfield, Virginia.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, there were a bunch of record exchanges down in my neck of the woods too. So I bought.
Yeah,
tons of
yeah. I
stuff
mean,
there.
record. Oh, he's talking about record. That was this record convergence is where I got that record. I'm sorry, not record exchange. Record convergence. It was called. It was in Springfield. There was one in Fairfax Circle, and there was one in McLean. There was 3 of them.
Right on. All right, Alan, what you got?
All right. It's time we talked about the elephant in the room. You have all of the big 4 thrash bands put out an album in 1988. So you've got So Far, So Good, So What. You've got State of Euphoria. You've got The New Order, and you've got Injustice for All. And so it's
Testament's not the big 4.
Oh, sorry. South of Heaven.
Anthrax,
Yep.
South of Heaven. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Far,
South
So
of
Good,
Heaven.
and Metallica. Yeah.
Yeah. So all 4 of them release an album in 88. And it's funny because in all 4 cases, it feels like, they're coming off their peak. While all of these albums, have their fans, they're not the most popular albums by these bands. They all have issues in a way. The one I picked just to represent the bunch was, And Justice for All. This was the first kind of real heavy metal album I ever bought. Bought a bootleg cassette of it at a flea market for $5. So, and here I am all these years later. But yeah, I've never loved this album, even though it was my first metal purchase. The production, of course, is famously weird with no bass. The songs are very long, very complex. Frankly, it wasn't a good album to introduce myself to heavy metal with. It was one that, friends were listening to, had heard snippets of, and it's kind of like, yeah, that seems like, an interesting band. That's one of the more serious bands. Let's start there. The album has its fans. That's fine. It's certainly not a bad album. It's just kind of a hard listen. And I do like, at the end of the day, if I go through it track by track, I like several of the songs. There's a couple that I'm not nuts about, but they're not terrible. It's just, it's just a tough listen. Weird production. Cliff's, of course, passed away. You don't even know they've hired a new bassist. It doesn't sound like it, based on the way the album's recorded.
Especially after that EP, where he was very predominant in the mix.
Yeah. And, it's just kind of this way. We may discuss the other albums individually. I don't know. But, again, you had the first 2 Megadeth albums most people really like. And then you have So Far, So Good, So What, which ranks really low for a lot of folks. You have, South of Heaven following. Excuse me, I'm drawing some blanks tonight. But yeah, after Rain and Blood, Slayer slows way down, goes to South in Heaven. I like South in Heaven, but I understand that, yeah, it's no Rain and Blood Part 2. And it just feels like, all of your big 4 bands, State of Euphoria is this kind of, it has some good songs on it.
Crappy.
But yeah. It's the pizza skate punk thing is a little too much strong of a vibe. So it's interesting to me that, this is kind of where you're right in your prime thrash years. And all 4 of your major bands, plus a lot of the second tier bands, Testament, Exodus, Death Angel, they all have albums out this year. Yet none of those albums really measure up to the albums that came before in most people's opinion. So it's kind of maybe a weird little bit of foreshadowing about how thrash is already, it's come over the peak and it's slowly starting down the incline. At the same time, some heavier shit's coming out in 1988 that we haven't gotten to yet. So we can talk about just And Justice, or if y'all want to comment on any of those other albums from the Big 4.
Go ahead, Marty.
Well, this is the tape I bought when it came out. I remember the day I bought this. I got home. My parents had a dog that lived outside in a kennel. I had to go rake the dog shit out of her pen. Had this on my Walkman. I was disappointed, and it was the proper place to be raking shit while I was listening to this record. I mean, Metallica is an important band for me because they were the gateway drug that got me in, from heavy metal into faster, Master of Puppets. Ride the Lightning was the first Metallica I ever heard. I have, very nostalgic feelings towards these records. This album, back in the day, I had enough money to buy maybe 2 or 3 tapes a month. So I listened to this. I forced myself to like this, and I can put this on and get that, nostalgic feeling for sure. But man, I listen to Death Magnetic more than I grab for this. I just do. And that's That's a fucking stupid thing to say. I understand that. It's really stupid to say that. But I mean, there's some songs on here I like. But, you know, someone said it's a bloated album, and it sounds to me like it's forced. Obviously, they're dealing with the death of their buddy. They're going through all this shit. They have to put out a record. There's like all these riffs just sandwiched together. All this crap sandwiched together. You got Lars trying to play drum patterns that are just outside of his wheelhouse. I don't know, man. I don't know. To this day, I could put it on and go back in time a bit, but I rarely put this on. But I did listen to it a lot. Like I said, it was one of 3 tapes I bought that month. I'm going to listen to this damn thing. And I was so excited for a Metallica record. Did it let me down a little bit? I'm not going to lie. I came around, but it's not a love. It's not a Ride the Lightning or Kill 'Em All, or it's none of that.
Yeah, it's no. I mean, you got Master of Puppets right before that, and then you have this. It's just not quite on the same. Even if you say it's a good album, it just doesn't feel like it's on the same level as what came before.
What do you think, King? I know you hate this.
You guys know I'm not a Metallica guy to begin with.
No,
yeah.
I know.
Kill 'Em All. Had they broke up after that, I would have kept it in my collection. It could have sat there as an average record. I never was thrown away. Ride the Lightning to me is a tender record for yuppie thrash guys. Master of Puppets is not allowed in my house. If you bring it to my house, I'll fart in your mother's purse. And this record here, I remember the first time I heard this was being in a store, Waxy Maxie's record store, and they were playing it. New Metallica playing, in store all day. And we're just shopping there. We're not there to hear the record. And I'm going, man, this band is getting popular shit, and this fucking sounds like I recorded it, man, in a basement on a fucking boombox.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded like shit. I remember the stereo speakers in that room in the record store were shaking to the kick drums, but not in a good way. They were like, it was like humming, like as if the compression wasn't there for the mix. Song wise, nothing for me. As always, I'm just not a Metallica. I'll say it again in 30 seconds. When they play fast, it sounds goofy. The drummer can't play. The singer can't play. The lead player can't play. I don't like the arrangements of their songs. I don't like anything about Metallica, really. The first record everybody thinks is this great speed record. And maybe you do. I don't. I think it's Boogie Woogie. Ted Nugent speeded up with some Judas Priest in it. This one here, I'll say this about it. It probably has my favorite Metallica song if I had to have one, and it would be One. It would be One because there's some emotion in the song. It's actually not bad. The video from the movie, Johnny got his gun. I mean, love the storyline to the thing, and they don't play fast, and I still don't want to hear it, but that's probably the best one for me. I remember I had some friends that loved this, of course, playing it, and it just was like, how many times are you going to say Harvester of Sorrow? How many times are you going to do this? Or any of those fucking, as it went on, I can't even remember all. Shortest Straw, you're just like, God, these guys are so fucking overrated. And this might have been where it finally went to me like, these motherfuckers are just so fucking not that good, And so they're
the right place at the right time, and they stayed on the road.
They just were at the right place at the right time. They became the Stepford band, I call it, instead of the Stepford Wives. They're the Robot band. They went all the way, but for me, never had it known. I agree with you totally. Riffs everywhere. I think they were lost. They were
lost.
They were drunks. They lost the guy that probably had the mind in the room to arrange things the best.
And
they were lost. And probably Newstead could have done a lot more for them, but didn't speak up yet because he was a new guy on the block. But it's just not a Metallica guy. I would say this is probably their last heavy metal record, really. I mean, after this, I guess they would call them hard rock, and then whatever they do now is it's pie charted shit. So I don't even want to talk about it. But I'm not into it. For me, D- would be my rating for that one.
I will say Metallica always struck me as a fantastic cover band. I love the Garage Days EP.
Well, even the stuff that's originals is kind of stolen from other bands. So there you go.
Yeah, true.
Am I up?
You're up, King.
Let's go. Let's go something off the cuff here. I don't want to go there because none of you guys don't know what I'm talking about. But let me just give a quick mention this. And this won't be my one, but Sticky, Where's My Lunch Pail? One of the best albums ever made. Came out this year, and I love it. And for those that know who Sticky is, Stikky, that Where's My Lunch Pail is a fucking phenomenal record with some of the fastest, craziest can play shit ever made. I was going to say that, but I know we can't talk about it. So I'm going to give an underdog, Chastain, Voice of the Cult.
Oh, okay.
Maybe their best record. Definitely, probably the best female heavy metal singer. probably the Dio of female metal singers. I think it's their best written record, Under the Radar for sure, but I think it's amazing. The title track should have been a radio song. Fortune Teller could have been too. There's a couple tunes on it that could have been that way. Nobody, was on Leviathan Records. Nobody really knew what it was going down. It came and went. There was so many Chastain records or David Chastain records or fucking CYJSS, whatever the fuck that fucking thing said on it, records, so it's just another one, but it's a phenomenal record. And I go back to it all the time still. And whenever I do some DJing for podcasts and stuff, sometimes I get asked to do stuff. When I do a female one, I always do something from them. Usually it's a lead off, and it's usually Voice of the Cult, which to me, they could have easily gone out and toured with Dio at that time and back to back, and it would just been fucking killer. So if you don't know it, and there's a lot of records by them, Voice of the Cult, Chastain is a must-known. It's got some of the best guitar playing ever. David Chastain, amazing player, great songs, et cetera, et cetera.
I have not heard it. That's one I've missed.
You need to get in. You need to hear it for sure.
What about you, Al?
I think you would.
I don't think I've heard this one by Chastain. I've heard some of them, but looking at the cover right now, it doesn't look familiar. But yeah, Leather's a cool singer for sure.
Chastain did a project with Mark Shelton as well, which is okay. It's kind of a cool CD to pick up.
David Chastain had so much stuff. He had so many fucking bands going. He was busy all the time. Then he started Leviathan Records, was his own thing. So he could just throw it and get it out there. But Voice of the Cult is the one that, they were trying to break out. They were actually playing a lot. They had some of the more underground radio stations around the country would do live shows, so they'd be included, like Tonight Chastain. They were trying to, boost them out. Just kind of got lost in it. I see somebody saying the Shrapnel. Chastain wasn't on Shrapnel for long. Mystery of Illusion was there, and they kind of got right off of it and went to this Leviathan, and Black Dragon was messing with them overseas at times, blah, blah, blah. But they were just one of them bands. The record was always in the stores, but I don't think a lot of people got it, or if some they did, they don't talk about it a lot, but phenomenal. Voice of the Cult. That's my my Under the Radar album for the moment.
All right, Alan.
All right, a couple of folks, including Jeff, have mentioned this one in the chat, and it's near the top of the stack. Crimson Glory's Transcendence, really good album from '88. Another one that kind of gets overlooked a little bit. It's known, but it was not a big breakthrough kind of thing, even though it was a bigger label kind of project. Great band, very talented. This one, I like it a lot. I like the self-titled better. I just do. It's maybe doesn't sound as good. There's obviously differences in production budget and labels and such. But yeah, this one is absolutely fine. Kind of early power metal leaning, a little proggish, which is okay. They don't take it too far in that direction. So yeah, a lot of folks have shouted this one out. A couple of folks have mentioned it's their favorite from the year.
It's great record.
Yeah, certainly no shame in that whatsoever. Kind of a shame, the band's always had issues ever trying to get a proper follow-up. The album after this got really weird, and then there's a long hiatus. Then they were coming back, but Midnight kind of screwed that one up. So the album was written for him and sung by somebody else who couldn't quite deliver on parts of it. So yeah, there's been all these weird misfires with Crimson Glory ever since. It's one of those bands that's you always kind of feel like what could have been if they had stayed the course a little bit and not had so many little distractions and bad luck on things going wrong. But yeah, Transcendence, just everything from the cover art, song titles, arrangements. They felt like a band that could have potentially maybe followed in the success of Queensryche and been regarded by a lot of that same kind of
I think
fan
in
base.
some ways that hurt them too, because a lot of people would say they were like a second-rate Queensryche.
That would be that's a good point, King. That's kind of the other side of that, though, is you've already got everybody fixated on Queensryche, and if this band's doing something kind of similar, there's only so much room for bands in a certain niche. And once you have one big band filling that niche, it's really hard for another one to get their foot in the door. I remember it's not a metal circles, but I remember a very similar conclusion being drawn by somebody, I don't remember which article it was, about the band Big Country, who were, huge, who kind of, on the rise in the, early and mid 80s, in more of, obviously, more of a pop rock
I kind of liked Big Country. They're unique.
I love Big Country. They're phenomenal. The problem with the article, reviewer kind of came to the conclusion that was Big Country could never really get that big, because U2 was already there. And that he's like, the UK and Ireland, it just wasn't big enough to have two bands on that same tier. And U2 had already kind of staked that territory. And so Big Country was always going to live in their shadow a little bit. And yeah, bands like Crimson Glory probably did live in the shadow of folks. Were just like, because again, not everyone is, a crazy hardcore metal head the way we are, the way folks in the chat are. For a lot of folks, they're going to find that handful of bands they like, and that's all they're going to listen to. And if they find Queensryche, they like Queensryche, but they're not going to go dig through Record Exchange looking at the Crimson Glory tapes and stuff like that. They're just going to wait for the next Queensryche album. So yeah, a cool band in the case of what could have been. There's always rumblings that some of the members may try to get something back off the ground. Maybe it happens someday, maybe it doesn't. But
they've been in quicksand for quite a few years.
Yeah, really. It's one of those projects. It really feels like, I mean, who do you get to even help with it at this point? And it's so far past due.
Yeah, they're almost in wheelchairs.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you don't want to harsh on it. If they do it, that's great. That's fine. They can try it. But for me, the expectations would be pretty low at this point. It's just, you've let too much time run off the clock.
Right. Go ahead, Marty.
All right. Man, this Holy Terror and this band, two of the most savage thrash albums ever. The Illusions.
Yep.
This is the Illusions Chemical Exposure, put out by Sadist themselves. This is an OG tape. But man, I've talked about this a bunch. I love this record. Absolutely. Listen, if you're not sure, listen to Certain Death. It's just a ripper, a caustic, fiery ripper.
U.S. creator at times.
Yeah, at times. I love DeGorgio's Rickenbacker cutting through the mix. Sometimes he throws in those nice slides. I don't know if he's doing some fretless on here too. I mean, my favorite Autopsy is Severed Survival with him playing bass on it. I love how his fretless or Rickenbacker tone cuts through and just makes things skankier. It's so good. But this is just savage, caustic thrash. And it's another one of those bands. It probably would have been the same for Holy Terror, that kind of fall through the cracks. They don't sound like the Big Four. They don't sound like that, even though they are a Bay Area styled band, location wise, Antioch, California. They don't have that sound. They're different. They're more violent. Very
more kind of like I always thought like a technical German thrash band.
Exactly, a technical German thrash band. Darren's vocals are just scathing, screaming, shrieking.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Swallowed in Black. I don't know if it's as good as this, but Swallowed in Black is good. I've liked all their records. They got a little more like proggy, deathy as they went along, like the band Death, for obvious reasons. But this is another.
Yeah. Well, I got that from them directly when it came out as just a record when they privately put it out.
Yeah, it's different cover. Yep.
Later.
Yep.
I love it. It would have been an even better record had they put their best track, Desolator, on that motherfucker.
Oh yeah.
Composer's demo,
which
is the best track of all time. But yeah, for me, that's the Sadist record. I think that the next records were similar with a little bit more technicality than this one, but the songs weren't there. It was like,
and plus they got a slicker production too.
Yeah, dude, I was like, it still sounds like Sadist, but the songs aren't there anymore. Certain Death is just instant in your face, and you love it. I saw that tour when they came through. It was them, Obituary, and Sepultura, actually, of all that tour. And they were really good live. They could rip it up and just, they did what they needed to do to fucking be a cool thrash band, and it worked. But the problem was going forward, I as soon as I heard the next record, Swallowed in Black, I just thought they ran out of songs. Like that first 10 batch was where it was at. So for me, their best thing is always going to be the DTP Death Posers demo that they did. But I do love them. I used to write to Darren all the time, cool band.
He was one of the first guys I wrote to for Worm Gear interview, and he actually got back to me and sent me a demo. Yeah, super nice dude. The days of the handwritten interview.
Yep.
I'd handwrite questions, mail them out to the band. He would handwrite his answers, and I'd have to bother one of my friends that actually had a computer. I mean, who had a computer back then? I had a word processor.
I had a word processor too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, him and the guys from Immolation were my first two mail
Ross
out.
and Bob.
Yep. So, anyway, great. I fucking love this Sadist, era of Sadist.
You want to say something about Sadist, Alan?
Yeah, I'm late to that band. I got into them only a couple of years ago with Marty. It was one of those band names I always heard but never could find anything by. But yeah, that's everyone's described it perfectly. It's a super intense album, great set of songs. Yeah, folks in the chat are giving Sadist some love here too. Good to see.
Good. Well,
And I actually like their comeback. Their new album, it was better than I thought it was going to be. Even without Steve DiGiorgio, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't know. It's pretty good.
Well,
Anyway.
I'm going to go, moving forward, I'm going to go to a thrash record that was fantastic for me. Their last record you ever need from them. They still go on, but it's not the same. And I won't go into detail why for me, but Razor, Violent Restitution.
Nice. Yep.
That's a fucking ripping thrash fucking record. Everybody needs to own that. Mark Chainsaw Adams from Deceased. He got the back patch. Actually, not the patch. He got it painted on his fucking jacket. Lives for that fucking record. You know, Dave Carlo, Sheepdog on vocals. If it's not Sheepdog Razor, it ain't worth a fuck. I ain't no Bob Reed guy at all. I can't stand it at all. This record here, every song was in the pocket. They finally had the drummer that was on in the fucking the pocket the whole record. He wasn't falling off, or the hi-hat was recorded too loud, or the snare was fucking missing in the mix. It's right. And when this thing came out, I wasn't expecting a lot because they had just done they had just done what was the one before it? The blue one. God damn it. Custom Killing. Mm-hmm. And that was like they tried to advance into 11-minute songs and stuff, and they put a little message inside this one like, sorry, we got sidetracked with some bullshit. This one's guaranteed to, like, you know, rip your scrotum off. And it did. And if you don't own this fucking record, you have to have this in your thrash metal collection. You just have to. That's what I got to say about that. Canadian thrash, 1988.
Yeah, it has one of the all-time great moments in thrash with martial arts.
Yep.
Just that is one of the most insane, drawn-out screams ever recorded.
One of my influences for sure.
Yeah, it's just absolutely insane, and then goes right into Hypertension, which is just absolutely devastating.
They don't let up. It's like the Sadist record. Those two together would have made a great tour.
They would, yeah. I had never thought of that, but you're absolutely right. That would have been a great pair. But yeah, just, you know, they build it up, and then it just comes in. He just sounds like, you know, some kind of, you know, fucking, you know, mechanical vulture that's going to swoop down and just rip your head off down.
When they lost him, it's just never been the same.
And it just, that scream just keeps going. It rolls in. Yeah, their finest moment recorded there. Not necessarily, maybe not their best album. Others are great too, but that opening.
I'm guy of all records. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, it's a fantastic album. Good call, King.
Which one was it? I missed that.
Razor's Violent Restitution.
Oh, that's a good one.
Violent Restitution.
Hey, Violent Restitution. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, how nice! What a nice album. They're such nice boys.
I mean, their comeback record they just put out a year or two ago. Man, what a turd! I hate to speak ill of people that slave over their art, but man, it was not good. Anyway.
Yeah, we played a show with them in Cleveland. We had a nightmare with them. I had to leave. I was going to literally ready to get into fucking fisticuff with them.
Well, that's just it. Every single one of their songs are singing about how they're going to beat your ass in every song. I'm like, why am I listening to this shit?
No, they were not. It was not a good night. A friend of mine had a birthday party, and he invited us to play. Savage Master played, and Razor played. This was in Cleveland. And they were just being pricks backstage the whole time. Dave Carlo, who I've talked to a couple times before that, it's always nice as can be, and Bob, they were just being whatever. And I was sick of hearing about it. And so was Adam from Savage Master too. And I literally told my buddy it was his party. I said, I'm leaving after we play. I'm leaving, dude. I'm not, it's going to get crazy in here, man. I was like, I'm not listening to this shit that we're having to listen to. This is an underground show. We're all in this together. So I fucking left. So I lost a lot of my fucking spirit for Razor. I'm a sheepdog guy always, you know, him and Dave Carlo had the biggest falling out, whatever. So I'll keep that in my heart and I'll try to separate the two. But that really upset me, man. It pissed me off.
Understandable. Yeah.
Right on. All right, Alan, what's next on your list?
All right. Some folks have mentioned this one in the chat too. Haven't really touched on anything too doomy yet tonight, but yeah, Candlemass does Ancient Dreams in 1988. Really good album. I think it lives in the shadow of Nightfall. And
yeah, it's good, but yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the cry from the crypt.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. I can't do that much or I'll cough all night. But
Iron Maiden curse.
Yep. But
Go with you.
yeah, in some ways, it feels like a continuation from Nightfall. I mean, they're still doing the same, classical, cover art. It's still Messiah on vocals doing, his kind of, crazy, unique delivery. Yeah, it feels a little heavier, feels maybe a little tighter. You don't have all those little instrumental interludes breaking things up. Yeah, so just maybe a little heavier, darker version of Nightfall works well. I don't reach for it as often as some of their others, but yeah, it's still a solid album. What else have we got on here? Yeah, Cry from the Crypt, Mirror Mirror, Darkness in Paradise, cool, slower one.
That's a good song. Darkness in Paradise is a good fucking song.
Yeah, Bells of Acheron is really good.
That's a good
Arrow of pain.
Yep.
So yeah, lots of good stuff there. Again, we've noticed before, Doom through the 80s is, kind of sporadic. It's always there. It's never really front and center. But yeah, Candlemass was laying down a template that Doom, I said, this lives in the, shadow of Nightfall. It sometimes feels like almost, all Doom metal still lives in the shadow of Candlemass. There's still so many bands who are trying to just recreate what this band perfected on their early albums. That they just can't seem to get away from that sound. A lot of bands do it well, but it also feels like, there's always that Candlemass influence on just so much Doom. It's like they can't quite get out from that under that influence sometimes.
All right, yeah. I mean, I think I like Tales of Creation a bit better, which is kind of the dark horse of that 3 album run. But
Tales is also great. Yep,
I like it. It's unique. What's up, Sue? How you doing, Sue?
For me, I'll tell you straight up, it's my favorite Candlemass record, and I'll tell you why. Because there was a lot more energy on that record than the first two. There's some really cool stuff being slow on the early Epicus and Nightfall, but I also thought some of it was just too slow for its own good. And I noticed when I saw this tour, they came through. I think it was them and Leech Lord. And they were playing the stuff much more up tempo. They didn't sound like, Motorhead by any means, but it was moving better. And I just thought when this record came out, I was like, there's actually some kind of like groove to it, not just like stiff, staff, stiff. That it was more like that. It kind of like Trouble kind of got to kind of the same thing where it could, because to me, obviously, these guys coming from like the Nemesis band and Mercy, et cetera, et cetera. I like that stuff for what it was. I'm your pervert priest. He was doing that shit. And, of course, the early Nemesis was cool for what it was. But even that had some kind of up-tempo shit on it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But this one here, I just thought, like, for example, Mirror Mirror came in and it was instantly, I was into it, man,
Yeah.
I mean, we all know Bewitched is always going to be deep tune.
Yeah.
But like Cry from the Crypt, it had like a treble chug to it.
Yep.
And when I saw him in concert, I was like, I actually went over to Messiah when it was over and I said, yeah, I see you kind of like, rocking more so than standing. Because that's the problem I had with it. It was just kind of like stiff. It didn't have any. When I say groove, I'm not talking about like we're trying to sound like the Jackson 5, but there was just nothing to the beats. And for me, this record was the one. I played this one a lot. I think I stole this from a tape exchange, and we played it in the car a bunch over and over and over. And I was always, the Cry from the Crypt was always, we'd sit in the car and look at each other and just go, that's the Cry from the Crypt, at each other. So I like this one best. Tales of Creation's not bad. And I know they went through some different stuff, and they went through some stuff where they were almost grungy to me later on. I don't know what some of that stuff they were doing was. But, yeah, Ancient Dreams for me was cool.
Good deal. All right, Marty, I believe you're up next.
Well, this is a hypocrite coming out here. I just bitched at Metallica for sandwiching a bunch of riffs together and not liking it. Well, I love Deception Ignored by Death Row, and this is an album full of sandwiched together riffs. But
I didn't know that came out in 88.
I think so.
You're probably right. Yeah.
It did.
I always think it's later than that.
I love this freaking record. I like their first 3 records. I even like the one after this. Is it as good as this one? It isn't. But this is kind of a tech thrash masterpiece to me. Songs like Machinery. Oh my God. There's like a somber melody line in it that it just explodes into this swarm of riffs, but somehow they make songs out of it. And was it Milo? Was that the singer? Nope, I'm wrong. Am I wrong? No, Milo, bass lead vocals. He's got such a weird vocal style, but it works. It's just unique.
It is awkward.
It's awkward. It's very German sounding, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Yeah, run with it. But it's just, wow. I don't know what you guys think of this, but this, to me, I don't know what to say other than it sounds like a very techie Death Row. Raging Steel, I think, is probably the one that everybody kind of goes to, the go-to album for this band, which I like as well. I think it's unique and kind of overlooked. But this is fucking great.
Kitchen sink. I think it's too. I'm with this guy Michael over here. I think it's too kitchen sink. I think the songs get lost because there's too many riffs.
There's a lot of riffs. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of riffs. Yeah.
The earlier stuff, it was more. There was more better songwriting, and it's just. I mean, there's a lot of records that got like that where bands just got too technical, and maybe this one record that I know was a big one on this year that you guys haven't said yet. When if it does come up, I'll say it again. It's just when you overdo riffs, you gotta know the fine line to keep it where it needs to be. Just because you wrote 33 riffs in the last 2 weeks, you ain't gotta put them all into that song, man.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what it feels like with this.
That's exactly what it is, and I don't know why I gravitated to it so much, other than
it does something for you.
I was kind of amazed at the fact that they actually did somehow eke out some songs in this mess of riffs. They really did. There's some songs in here, but it's more of an air guitar, crazy time signature. I don't know. I know what you're saying though, King, and I agree with it. I'm not going to sit here and say you're wrong. No, it's just it's a train wreck, but I love it. I don't know why.
Yeah, okay. Well, are you good, Alan? You need to say something about it?
I don't know the album well enough to weigh in here.
I was going to say something. My next record was going to be an actual good German thrash.
Whatever.
Tankard, The Morning After.
Oh, I've got that in my pile
too. With a swollen head.
Oh, I didn't pull it. It was on my list and I forgot to pull it. That's a great record.
Tankard to me is the best thrash band of Germany for consistency. Maybe not the best album of all time to come from there. That might be Endless
Their
Pain.
best album is Chemical Invasion. I love Chemical Invasion.
Man, Tankard just keeps putting out records for years. People don't even know Disco Destroyer and all these later records, and they were really good. They were still thrash and speed metal. The Morning After was, you talk about a vicious fucking record with a great production, and just, man, we played with them. I don't know how many times they've come to America. I think they might have played Maryland Death Fest once too, but we played with them in Minnesota. October 31 did, of all bands. And I remember the singer came up to me because Deceased had recorded a cover of Zombie Attack. And for some reason, he was getting royalties from it over there because we sure weren't getting them from Relapse over here.
they've been fucking you for a lot of years.
Thanks for the $7.12.
Yeah.
But they were just so fucking vicious. This is, to me, is their most vicious record. Zombie Attack's my favorite, but this record is so good and that song, The Morning After, just the way that drummer beats that fucking snare's fucking face in.
Yeah,
it's a phenomenal record, and it's got songs, which the Death Row for me does not. I like Death Row too, but it's just not that record as much. This Tankard record really fucking good.
Yep. I agree, 100%. Chemical Invasion's my favorite by them, but this one, when it came out, I was super psyched.
And for the right to drink pure beer.
It was on my list, and I somehow didn't pull it. I don't know what the hell happened there. Mistake.
Well, you went fucking had Death Row on top.
I did. That was one that Death Row. Here we go.
Before I'll say it to you again, Marty. Fuck you.
All right, Alan.
All right. Well, I'll do Germany as well, but I'm going to go more power speed with Blind Guardian's debut, Battalions of Fear. This one, I feel like, got very overlooked in their catalog for a long time. I think folks have finally come around a little bit that, it is an excellent album. This is, before they go off, into the symphonic operatic stuff, which I like some of that, but they did lose me a bit over time. Back in this era, they're just kind of doing, the early Halloween vibe. They're playing fast, good melodies, really good vocalist, great guitar stuff playing off, and just, flat out going for it. Majesty's, one of the big highlights on here. It's been in their live set forever. May not be anymore, I'm not sure. But Guardian of the Blind is good. Wizard's Crown, which used to be called Halloween. Run for the Night is another classic. Battalions of Fear is a great song too. The lyrics make it feel a little dated since, it's a lot of references to Reagan era politics and things. But yeah, this was not the first Blind Guardian album I got, but one of the first. I think it was the second. And yeah, I was always blown away with how good this album was, and always was surprised by how little people talked about it. Granted, the things, that would come after this, got better and better and, pretty phenomenal for a good stretch of the 90s there. But I always felt like, but that one was good too. Don't forget about that one. Yeah, really good start to what's been a fantastic career. Gotta love this first Blind Guardian.
Marty, I know you're probably a big fan. I'm just going to talk quick and let you do it because I've never been big on Blind Guardian. None of it.
I'm late to it. I'm late to it.
The records, including the later ones, which probably ended up in like Nuclear Blast fucking promos to me later on or something. I bought that record. I bought ones, before and after it too, just because I bought, every metal record I find growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Just never really did anything for me. I don't know. A lot of my buddies like Jim from October 31 loved them. We saw them somewhere and I literally just walked out in the hall. I was just bored. I just didn't have the songs I thought it should. For me, it just never worked. And I got nothing against the guys. It just didn't do it for me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Nope,
No, I'm late to them. I bought Nightfall in Middle Earth in the mid 90s at some point, and it kind of sat on the shelf. I listened to it and liked it, but I was too busy with death and black metal to be bothered by that. But now I have all their shit. And I enjoy the hell out of them. But
well, there you go.
yeah. Yep.
All right, Marty, take it away.
Well, I'm going to stick in Germany one more time. Because we can't. This is another one of those bands that we need to get a royalty check from them. But is Scanner Hypertrace. I love this fucking record.
Tonight's episode brought to you by
Scanner and Halloween. But this album, probably their best. I've liked every one of their records other than one of them. They had Scantropolis with a lady singer. I didn't care for her vocals. And there was like this theatrical shit going on. And I don't know. I don't like that record. The rest of them are good. This is their best. This is a really great record. They were always kind of, I was talking to somebody in the comments that said that these guys are from a similar or a close town to Halloween. And they were always overshadowed by Halloween. And obviously this album has definitely some Halloweenisms about it, but they still kind of had their own sound. I was surprised to hear that Ralph Sheepers was supposed to sing on this, but the singer came back, and so Ralph was relegated to background vocals on this record. So that's
where
something
he belongs.
Come on now, Alan. But anyway, I love
Best
this record.
backup vocalist you could hope to have. Hey, I said something very nice about him.
There you go.
All right.
Go ahead, King.
I'm going to take you to Sabbath, History of a Time to Come.
Oh, you're not even going to comment on. You're not even going to comment on Hypertrace. All right.
You want my opinion on Scanner? It's okay. Again, it's like Blind Guardian. Just never really did anything for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to. None of these literally nothing. You guys have something. I was just like, this sucks shit. I mean, Justice for All is probably the lowest one for me of any of this.
Yeah.
But it's just I just didn't play it enough, or just rather not say much. If it just wasn't one I played a lot.
Yeah.
I'll go back and listen to it, give it a shot. There's a couple records I'll go back and listen to tonight that we've talked about tonight. But
Which
for
one?
me,
What's up next?
I'm moving over to Sabbath, History of Time to Come.
That was my next one.
There you go. Charge!
Fantastic album.
This is so good.
It is fucking cool. That was a cool band that, they obviously went into Skyclad a little bit later on. This record's the best one. I mean, some people, I know people that think each record's the best one for different reasons. This one's just cool to me. I love the way the vocals are patterned. He's odd, Martin. He's very weird. Yep. But I remember getting that on a promo from Noise and just really liking it a lot. Love the drawing of them on the back. You can see that on the back of the record, the painting of them or whatever it is.
Yeah, let me get it up here.
There you go. It's classic. I always thought that was kind of fucking neat. Cool record. I think they stood out. They weren't thrash. They weren't not thrash. They weren't speed metal. They weren't not speed metal. They were heavy metal, but they weren't heavy metal. I don't know what they were. I guess kind of came up, and of course they already had Sabbath from Japan, so it kind of threw some people off, but I think it's a cool band. I like all their records, for different reasons, but this is my favorite one.
Even Morning is Broken?
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad. I think it's odd.
I have to listen. I've got it. I have to listen to it again. I remember being really pissed.
It's odd. I would say that's the bottom one. But I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah. I was really pissed when that record came out.
I just played this a couple weeks ago and was just going to play a couple tunes, and I just was sitting in the car, just kind of one of those things we had the tape, and fucking, we played it, and I'm in the car like going, man, I'm thinking about those times. So it's kind of a memory thing too.
Nostalgia, man. It's a thing. It's a thing.
And I was just at Seeing Satan, so I was talking to, he was in Skyclad and fucking guitar player, and we were talking about this band and stuff, and he was just like, yeah, those were great times.
Great times. Agreed. Do you want to say anything about history of the time
excellent album. Hosanna in Excelsis. Just a fantastic, well put together. It really shows off, the songwriting chops that would carry them through, a really successful run with Skyclad.
Wasn't that song on Doomsday News? And maybe when I first heard them.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
that was on that Doomsday's News compilation of noise bands. I think that's the first time I actually heard them was that song there. I think it was that song.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Oddly enough, I first heard them randomly. A kid at high school had a cassette of Dreamweaver. It was like the only time I saw this kid pull a heavy metal cassette out of his backpack in study hall. He's like, you should check this out. I think you're going to like it. I'm like, okay. He's like, just take it and borrow it, bring it back in a day or two. And I was like, that's really impressive. But yeah, I do like history better now.
I like Dreamweaver too. They're both
it's a
1-2
great
punch.
album,
Yeah, no, I like it too.
Oops. All right, Alan.
All right, I'll stay in the UK and go in a different direction though. We still have a lot of big albums to at least mention.
Oh my God, there's so many good fucking records this year.
There's a lot of big ones.
King, I did pull Morning After. It wasn't my stack.
Okay,
there you go.
To anybody that's never seen it, we'll throw this up here real quick.
You know what? Yeah. You know what? Maybe you can show it the morning after this show.
Yeah, I might as well have. I mean, this is about as effective as that right now.
And look at the drawings on the back of that one; they're cool too.
Yeah,
I had the fucking underoos of that. I was at Vakken. We were playing Vakken, and they were in a barrel for 2 fucking marks or something, and they were green Bermuda shorts or some shit of their faces on fucking underwear. I was like, I gotta have this.
Nice.
All right. Sorry, Alan.
Oh no, that's fine. So we'll get back to some of the bigger ones, but it's always fun to slip in some of the smaller ones too that don't get a whole lot of mention. There were still a few new wave of British heavy metal bands kicking around. Their style had changed, but some of them were still doing good albums. One of those is Clovenhoof.
Yeah.
Crazy album cover with Dominator here. It's a far cry from what they were doing back on the original EP and stuff. But
it's almost the same chick that's on the Sabbath album.
Same artist. He always goes for this he has a tendency to go for these red orangey backgrounds.
With chick with white hair.
He likes the big white hair. Yep.
Would you look at that?
Good eye there, Marty. But there's a lot of good songs on here, and some of these had been in their set list for a long time. Like Nova Battlestar, Rise. Let's see, Warrior of the Wasteland, or Reach for the Sky had been in their set list for years. It's on the live album, so they knew these songs, knew them really well. It's a really solid album. It doesn't really sound like older new wave of British heavy metal. It has that kind of post new wave of British heavy metal
Michael
vibe.
Hudson in here. He's saying, I hear the power metal on it, the US attack a little bit too.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Michael. You're exactly right. They've switched more into a power metal vein, but not 80s power metal, not 90s Stradivarius dolphins jumping through a fucking rainbow kind of power metal. And it's just a cool album by a band that was still soldiering on and doing some quality stuff, but not getting much attention, sadly.
I mean, I thought that was a cool one too, like along with Sultan's Ransom.
It's another good one they did.
They were rolling still. I like them. I might like them as much as the early ones too, for different reasons.
Yeah, that's fair. No,
Dominator might be their most catchiest one of all of them, maybe just because of the way the songs are arranged, more of a U.S. I don't want to say about traditional rock and roll arrangements, but.
Yeah,
I like it too. I think it's a damn good record. It's under the radar, and most people would probably think that was a little earlier than '88, but it was '88 for sure.
Yep, they were still going. And I think you're right. Just some of the songs like Reach for the Sky, Nova Battlestar, those are songs a lot of folks are going to be able to get into and just find that's a really good, catchy, solid heavy metal tune. But by '88, that style's very out of vogue. Let's be honest. It's not heavy enough to get a lot of people's attention by '88, which is a shame. Good stuff. All right, Marty, then I believe it is your turn again.
All right. Well, this album, I will say, I was initially slightly disappointed when this came out, but it blew me away. And there's still some things that bug me about this record this day. But Corner, Punishment for Decadence.
There it
I
is.
love R.I.P. R.I.P. is my favorite Corner record. That record is dark. It's got an atmosphere. It's great. This is more of a shred fest, and they buried Ron's vocals in the mix. I don't know why they did that. It's annoying because there's some good songs on here. I just wish his vocals were a little bit louder. Obviously, they started to get a little bit of a commercial success with Mass Jackal, was always on Headbangers Ball. But, you know, songs like Skeleton on Your Shoulder, the riffage in it is just super technical and sick. Great guitar work from, what's his name? Tommy Barron.
Tommy Barron.
Yep.
Tommy T.
This is the U.S. version. The European version has a different cover, like a Renaissance painting type of thing. But yep, that's the one right there.
It'll be easy for me, Alan. I'll let you, because I know you like him more than me. Never been a big Corner guy.
These guys started out as Celtic Frost roadies, and Tom Warrior sang on their Death Cult demo, which is really good, really cool. And
I remember having that demo. They sent it to me. I could never get into Corner. I don't know what it is. It was one of those bands. Like some people were like, well, "You should really like this. You like Voivod a lot." Blah blah blah. But it just didn't. It didn't have that for me.
They're not Voivodi.
I don't think it was so much the Voivod thing. It was just that they were awkward. You know, it was like if you like awkward bands, I guess I should have said. I just could never get into the vocals. Just something about it. And when they did that, I don't know which one it was. I guess it was later, but that "She's So Heavy" Beatles thing, that was one of the worst things I've ever heard.
I know. Why?
Just not a big fan. Never did it for me. It just kind of, came and went. I didn't even pay attention to that record when it came out, I'll be honest.
Yeah, Wilson, No More Color is my second favorite, and Punishment's my third, and then Mental Vortex. And then after that Grin album, turd.
Is Grin the one with the Beatles cover? Which one is?
Yeah, I think She's So Heavy, I Want You is on No More Color.
Yeah, I don't like that.
No, it's not good. I don't either. It's like the Batman thing. Why is it on there?
The Batman cover was good, but just you didn't like it when that's where they put it.
Exactly. It shouldn't have been on that perfect album.
They also did Holiday in Cambodia back then. Dead Kennedys too.
Yeah. That could work. But yeah, if you have time to cover a Beatles song, you have time to record something better.
That's just kind of like a fuck you to your label. Like, I want you to pay all these publishing rights to Beatles. Is what that was. I bet you that's what it was. Like, okay, Walter Bach, we'll show you. We're covering the Beatles.
The Beatles might not even know it's their song anymore.
Yeah, probably not. All right, King.
Me. I'm going way under the radar with a record I fucking really like. I still to this day talk about it with some people. They don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Mental Vortex had the Beatles cover. Sorry, my bad.
Okay. For me, it's Mean Streak, Roadkill. All female, heavy metal, power metal, a little bit of speed metal from New York. Half the girls are married to Dream Theater guys.
Still to this day?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. They were on a label called Mercenary, which was sort of an important combat offshoot kind of thing. The fucking record is fantastic. I don't know if you guys know it at all, but it's
I don't.
All girl band. They were really good. The singer could really rip it up. If anybody that's down below knows it too. Man, there was some really good songs on there, really good melodies, but they also could get like, I don't want to say overkillish, but sometimes it'd be like Iron Maiden, and sometimes it would be like Maiden at the early Maiden kind of vibe, and then sometimes it'd be kind of overkillish. They played a lot back then. They were really good. They were really, really good. They could play too. It was, kind of like Phantom Blue was the West Coast version of this, but it was a band that were called Mean Streak. The album's called Roadkill. I don't know. I don't have a picture. I'm gonna see if I can throw it up on my phone for you guys. They were really good. They had a song called Snake Pit, which was kind of their hit song. They came and went though. They won record. They came back and tried to play in New York, and I think what happened, my buddy Lou told me, he went. The singer, before they were getting ready to go on stage, fell off something and broke her fucking leg before they were going to do their reunion show, like an hour before they were supposed to play.
Oh, geez.
At the St. Vitus, I think it was. But yeah, this was the cover here. I don't know how bad I'm doing that. Probably not doing it justice at all. Marty, maybe it'd be quicker for you to put it up or something.
Oh, yeah. Mean Streak. What was the name of the album?
Roadkill.
Okay, I've seen this album, but yeah, I didn't know a thing about it.
Oh, there's a few Mean Streaks. Hold on one second. They're the ladies. There they are. Roadkill. Let me pull it up real quick.
Okay.
I
recommend it. People would dig it. They got some good jams. Lost Stranger was a good tune. Very maidenish on that one.
There you go.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I've seen the cover
out.
from
That's a
time
good
to
record.
time, but
The
yeah,
CD goes for a lot of money. The record's probably sitting in Discogs for $30. It's definitely worth getting. I promise you. Lost Stranger.
I'll have to check that one out.
That's under the radar, I know, but that's a record I was looking at a list of stuff, and I'm like, man, I love that fucking record. Sold like 12 copies.
Alan.
All right, got to touch on a few more of the name bands also. This one hasn't come up yet. Well, we might have mentioned it briefly when we kind of touched on the bigger thrash albums as a group. Death Angel has another album out. Ultraviolence is the one that people mostly gravitate towards. And Frolic Through the Park, they start to get a little goofy. Still pretty good. I've always had a soft spot for this album, though I understand it has its flaws. It's not for everyone.
I liked it a lot when it came out.
I'm bored.
Yep.
That video was horrific, man. Horrific.
Yeah. So it ends up being another one example of here's another one of these bigger American thrash bands with an album that is not quite living up to its predecessor in 1988. It's not that it's garbage, but most folks are obviously going to pick Ultraviolence over this one, just like we were talking. Most folks are going to pick Puppets over Justice, and most folks are going to pick Peace Cells over So Far So Good, and most people are going to pick The Legacy over New World Order.
Do they do Cold Gin on that one?
Yep, yeah. The Cold Gin covers on this one too. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, it's just it's a funny pattern, that you have all the thrash bands getting stuff out there, but it doesn't feel like none of them have like their seminal record out in '88. They've already done their seminal record, so I had never noticed that until I was pulling albums, and looking over lists this week for what to talk about. So it's like, every one of them put out an album, but it's not the album in any particular case.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know all the bands you're talking about. I'm not into any of them. I think they're all goofy. For me, not to jump you in front of you, Marty, but just for me, this one, I'm not a Bay Area thrash guy, but for most bands at all. But I do really think Death Angel Ultraviolence is pretty good for what it is.
I do too. For a bunch of kids.
I actually saw them. I told this story one of these times I was on here. I went and saw Slayer with Overkill on Rain and Blood Tour, and I was not impressed with Slayer. I thought Overkill blew him off the stage. We already had bus tickets to go to New York to see the same show at the Ritz a few days later. So we went ahead and did it, but I was not looking forward to Slayer. Well, at that show, Death Angel got added to the bill as the opener before Overkill. And Death Angel came out and played pretty much that whole fucking record and just fucking smoked. I mean, they were fucking killer. Mistress of Pain and all, Voracious Souls. They were actually pretty fucking good. And that singer was screaming his guts out. So I always thought that record was decent produced. I think it was Enigma Records on that first one.
I think Kirk Hammett was a producer of that record.
Yeah. It was it was decent produced, but it was it was raw in its own way. But live, I was like, man, these songs are way more of the attack. And of course, what was the drummer's name? Was it Peppa?
Yeah,
the little guy. He
Gus,
was playing
Gus Peppa or something.
Something Peppa. But he playing his fucking ass off, man. They were really good then. But when I heard this one and I heard the On Board, I did not like it. And I still don't like it. This is, to me, when all these thrash bands started adding this groove to it. They were like, all of a sudden it was like, we like this other music too, and let's just throw it in here. And I thought that hurt them. I actually like the organization better for this kind of stuff than
for the straight up funk.
Yeah, like they, I did an interview. I really like to Savor the Flavor from them, which is an alternative record. I'm not an alternative guy, but I thought the record was really good. They did a Steely Dan cover. I interviewed him for that one. We talked, and he was like, "Man, we wanted so bad by the second Death Angel. We were like, dude, we wanted to sound like Van Halen. We didn't want to sound like Metallica anymore and stuff." So, and I was like, "Well, that's fucking wild." But fucking, they were still Death Angel, and they were kind of like in a corner, so they kind of, did what they did. And it doesn't do a lot for me, but I like the guys. I really enjoyed the interview. Really cool guys. So I give them a shake, but I just never liked that record.
Nope, that's fair.
Hey, Bluto, thanks so much. You didn't have to do that. You're too kind.
Appreciate it. Yes, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Marty, what would you like to discuss next?
Well, there's a lot of talk about the West Coast thrash, the Bay Area thrash, for sure. Obviously, it's a big thing. I've got some of it coming up in my list here, but one thing that was always cool about the East Coast, you got bands like Overkill and other bands in the New York area that had their own sound. And this is one of them. I love Nuclear Assault, the early stuff. After Dan left, what the hell was the one after this? Something Wicked? It was okay. The one after that was not good. I don't know. It's one of the, I don't, they're not as,
Care.
I like Handle with Care. Handle with Care is a great record, but Survive, I mean, what a great band photo. Alan ran into Glenn Evans at a record store by him, a year ago?
It's probably been 2 or 3 years at this point, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But,
he lives in this area.
I'm plugging my fucking shit in. It's getting low. Go ahead and keep talking.
Right on. But, these guys are a New York band, and they had they were still a metal band, but there was a little bit of hardcore mixed in there, just a touch, enough to keep them unique. John Connolly's vocals, super unique. You had kind of a whiny kind of screaming style, which was really cool. And Glenn Evans, obviously a fantastic drummer. I don't know. You can kind of tell, Lilker is a good songwriter. Listening to the first Anthrax record, a lot of good songs on there. He wrote a lot of that record. And when he moved on, they started doing Nuclear Assault. The quality was there. The songs are there. They had the unique singer. They had good solos, good drums, good rhythm section. This is a great band. Survive is a classic. I spun the shit out of this. Uh-oh, he hung up on himself here.
Oops. We'll get him back.
He'll come back.
Yeah, he's just got to get hooked up to power, it sounds like.
Yep. Nuclear Assault. Anything to say about Survive?
Yeah, I like that one by them quite a bit. It's got my favorite Nuclear Assault track on it with Brainwashed.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute classic on that one.
Yep.
So, yeah, cool band. I don't know their catalog nearly as well as you do, but that was the one I had, back in the day. And it was one of those random things, like you were saying earlier. You had this much money to work with as a kid. We were, had made our, once every, couple of months, we'd get over to a city big enough to a record store. And I had to do the math. Is like, I did not. They had 2 Nuclear Assault albums. There was probably Survive and the debut. It's like, Survive is only $5.99. The other one is $9.99. If I buy Survive, I have just enough money to buy one more tape. So that's why I actually picked Survive. And then I noticed they had Brainwashed on it, which I'd already heard. I was like, oh, well, that makes it even easier. But that's why I ended up with that particular Nuclear Assault album. It was a couple of bucks cheaper, so that's what you bought.
Did you all hear the Kiss pinball machine fire up? I plugged in the plug because my shit was going low, and it started playing it plays rock and roll night when it fires up. And I was like, oh shit. So I got out of it, and there I am. Now it's just flashing Kiss.
Anything to say about Nuclear Assault, King?
I liked them. I didn't love them. They were kind of middle of the road. They were better. They continued the kind of the Anthrax sound of Fistful of Metal, but not really the same, with a little bit of a crossover. Hang the Pope was cool. I remember that was a classic show in Maryland. I didn't get to go to. It was Overkill and Nuclear Assault. People were like, man, they played the song Hang the Pope. It was faster than Final Command from Slayer. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I didn't see that, but a little bit later on, we went and saw them. I want to say it was Nuclear Assault and Ludachrist down at a place in DC. And we were tripping on acid, and we fucking stage dived pretty much the whole entire show. And it's on YouTube. And Dan's a dear friend. We've been friends for years. We were actually supposed to do a band years ago together called Cruelty. We were going to do nothing but old Sodom songs, but we never got around to doing it. But I liked them. I mean, you guys were talking about Glenn Evans. He actually tried to hit on my girlfriend, the girl I was seeing at the time, years ago. One time, it was hilarious. He got shot down in flames that night. But, and then,
hey, you got to shoot your shot,
you got to go for it. What's the fucking the singer's name again?
John Conley.
John Conley. We played a show, or he came to a show we played in New York with Super Christ. It was us, Super Christ, and it was Vermifuge, which was my buddy Danzo that played in the Cease for Lowell's band. And he was there. And I was like, old metal forever. And he goes, nah, I'm just old, man. And he was so beat. He was like, nah, just old. But he was very nice. They were a fun band. They were always, to me, they were always an opening band, though. They were never, the songs didn't have enough to make it special for me. But I loved going to fucking, seeing them when we saw them.
Yeah. I always dug them. I spun the shit out of those albums for sure. And King, you're back.
Okay, and I did like the Nuclear Assault video where they had the bouncing ball with Jessica. What was her name in it? Jessica Hahn.
Jessica Hahn. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep.
Okay, let's see. I'll go into my list here. For me, their last good record, dear friends to this day, especially Shane, From Enslavement to Obliteration, Napalm Death.
There it is.
That's some fucking heavy fucking stuff, man. That Unchallenged State, Jesus Christ. It's a great fucking, intense record. According to Mick Harris, the drummer, I was the first person to ever have a Napalm Death shirt in the United States. He sent the very first shirt to me. We were best friends, and we were always writing total chuffed. He would talk all those crazy words of the time. Total, proper blast, mate. And then we played out in where the hell we played? I think it was Milwaukee. We did one show on the Grind Crusher tour. It was us and them and Godflesh and some other bands. And he came over because I was playing drums and singing, and he put his fucking chair right next to me. And I was playing. He's like, "Proper blast, mate, proper blast," and I'm singing. And it was crazy. But I never cared for them when they tried to like turn it into Florida death metal, like Harmony Corruption, and
I didn't like that record.
For that little bass and the triggers and stuff. But From Enslavement to Obliteration is one of the best albums of its kind ever made. It's got that vicious fucking bass that's unreal. So that's one I put for one of my quote unquote extreme records of that year. I was a year late on that one. I didn't get it till 89, maybe even 90. I don't know. I was a little bit late. And I didn't even remember it was 88, but it was.
And it's another couple other ones that came out in 88, Carcass, Recaputrefaction, and Bolt Thrower and Battle There Is No Law. So, I mean, the English scene was coming up.
I wasn't big on the first Carcass, but for me, Symphony of Sickness was their second from both of those two bands. Bolt Thrower, hit or miss. I like Bolt Thrower, but not that much.
Recaputrefaction is a mess. It's a mess. That record is a mess.
It is what it is. I mean, we all had it. That was when Alan probably the one who could talk about this because he likes to break down the genres. The grind was a coming, wasn't it there, Alan?
It was a coming.
Definitely so. Yep.
The earache was a coming.
Yep. All right, Alan.
Yep. Yeah, we still have some big, more
extreme albums. Skipped right by Napalm Death. It's like me with Scanner. It's just like, keep moving.
I heard that Ralph Sheeper sang on that Napalm record too. What do you think of that, Alan?
He's in the background, exactly where he belongs. He sounds fantastic.
Primal Fear.
Let's see. So yeah, we do have some more extreme things to talk about, but I want to stick to again, kind of a little under the radar band that did a good album in '88. You got the third Liege Lord album. King mentioned them in passing a little bit earlier. Master Control. First off, I always liked the cover art, just the big robot with, kind of, very kind of brighter, vivid colors, with the red background, big blue robot. Just, has that kind of, weird
Metal Blade artwork for the time.
Yeah, it works just fine. They had, they changed their logo at this point. And so it's, a little more metallic looking than what was on previous albums. New singer, which some folks liked the new vocalist. Some folks really hated to see the previous vocalist, not on this. But I think Joe Comeau does a good job on this one. He ended up joining Overkill later and played on guitar and has done other projects. But side A of this album is really strong. Fear
Rainbow
itself.
Cover, right?
What's that?
Rainbow
Yes, Kill the
cover.
King is at the end of side A. You've got Fear itself. You got the Rainbow Cover. Master Control, Eye of the Storm. Really, really strong A side. I feel like the B side is still okay, but it feels like the album just kind of levels off by that time. Really solid U.S. power metal. If you like stuff like, Metal Church and such, this album's probably going to work quite well for you if you've never checked it out. The earlier albums are really good too. They don't get talked about as much as they probably should. But, and again, this is one of those things where it's a good album. They're doing the style really well. But again, with grindcore coming up and death metal poking around, this stuff probably just wasn't heavy enough for part of the audience anymore. So you kind of, maybe just a few years too late. But
metal, traditional heavy metal was kind of like sitting somewhere in that middle. If we're talking about like this, and I never really said much about the Crimson Glory, but those bands were just kind of, because Liege Lord, some people could be like a Queensryche band too. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, that's what they had to relate it to as something popular at the time. You'd say, well, they're like Queensryche, or they're like Iron Maiden. That's what you had, because even Grease wasn't even like that anymore. So, it's kind of what it was. I liked it. I Freedom Rise, I like Freedom Rise much more.
Great album. Yep, nothing wrong with Freedom Rise at all.
I did like this one. I didn't mind the vocals. I thought he was okay. The production was probably their best. They had.
Yeah,
it was pretty nice production. I don't know if that was Bill Montoya or they even mess with him anymore. Does it say?
It may be a little late for Montoya. I don't know if this.
Yeah, he might have been out of there. So I'm thinking 88.
Produced by Terry Date and Liege Lord.
Oh yeah, Terry Date. Well, there you go. He was doing a lot of stuff then. He was getting ready to jump into some Cowboys from Hell there coming up.
Yeah,
but that the sound was really good on it, and that helped it. But I think the songs were, like you said, I would kind of say that side A and side B were just about the same for me. Like just kind of 6s, 5s or 6s out of 10s. For most of it, I did like the rainbow cover. I do remember it being pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good job on the Kill the King.
I've never heard that album. The only Liege Lord I have is Burn to My Touch.
That's a good one.
And I have not listened to it in a long time, so I couldn't tell you.
What's one you would like to talk about, Marty?
Well, this band, this guy, say what you want. I spun the shit out of this when it came out.
Ah, yes.
1,000%. There's times where I thought that maybe I liked it better than Abigail. But that the twin guitar lead at the end of the Black Horseman at the end of Abigail still kind of keeps it maybe just that a little bit above. But this record, I like the concept. I thought it was a good story. I like the songs. Mickey D's drumming, fantastic on here. I loved his technical cymbal work. Great drummer. King Diamond for me, Fatal Portrait's always the one. That's the one. That's the third Merciful Fate record to me. But I loved it. I loved him all the way up through. The Eye started to show some cracks, but I liked it. What was the one after the Eye?
After the Eye,
a whole bunch was Graveyard, Spider's Lullaby.
Spider's Lullaby was good. I liked the Graveyard. I didn't like Voodoo much. House of God, I didn't like. But I don't know. This is a time where I was still enthralled with King Diamond and Merciful Fate, and I still am to this day, I guess. But this is a fantastic record. I listened to the shit out of this thing, and it was still during maybe a little late on the Satanic Panic, but there's still the vibes there. So the creepy horror story time satanic thing was still kind of enchanting to me a little bit. I was just a junior in high school and didn't know much about shit. So I don't know. I love this record. Love it. Good stuff. Andy LaRocque, what a great guitar player. Doesn't really play a wrong note. Yeah. What do you think? What do you guys think?
For me, it's like I was saying earlier, a lot of riffs. The songs don't do a lot for me.
A little proggier. There is a little bit of proggier progression.
You and me are definitely different on this. I'm not a Mickey D guy. I find him to be a very.
He's busy.
Just by the books. Kind of doesn't have any personality for me to listen. Fatal Portrait is a perfect King Diamond record. The songs are there. It's fucking vicious. Abigail is okay for me. I like it, but it's a way step down. This one's a way step down from Abigail, and it just continued to me. I might have liked something later, like one or two songs from stuff. And this record's the same way as I would say Abigail. I think Sleepless Nights was a great single back then, like that. But Fatal Portrait is the one where he should have stayed but he wanted all these riffs and he had all these players, and LaRocque could play his ass off. But again, I said this one of the times we talked before, I don't give a fuck how good a player you are, because I know I can go to D.D. Ramone and get a song that's memorable for the rest of my days. And he couldn't do any of this shit. These wank guitar player kind of guys, it's cool, at times, but if you don't have the song to go with it, then what do you got? And that's just how I felt about it. The storylines and stuff were neat. He was the Alice Cooper of the 80s, kind of sure. his thing. And, it is, for me, I'd give it a C, that record for me.
It's a A-, B+ for me. Like I said, I put myself back in my high school years. King Diamond,
the memory
man.
part of it's cool.
Yeah.
King Diamond.
For me, it's probably like a B-, but it kind of depends. Like I go through times when I like King Diamond stuff, and then I get burned out on it, and I don't play it for a while. I do like the two albums before this one better, and King's point about songs is right. Them has a cool story. Them works well if you want to listen to it as you're listening to like a radio broadcast of spooky Halloween tale.
Right.
But the individual songs don't stand out as much as they did on the previous 2 albums. So for that, I'll definitely take Abigail over this one. And Fatal Portrait with, dressed in white and stuff. Funny thing with Andy LaRocque, you mentioned, just, never misses a note. There's a funny story about that in the Scott Burns book that came out last year, where he obviously did work on Death, individual thought
pattern.
And Scott was told the story that so they fly in Andy LaRocque, and obviously it's kind of everyone's excited, it's a big deal, of course. And he gets in there, and Scott's like, okay, do you want to show me like what you've mapped out for your solos and stuff like that? And he's like, Andy's just like, no, he's just like, which one do you want me to play first? Like, well, what do you want to do first? Like, oh, it doesn't matter. Just I don't have anything set. What do you want? And Scott kind of started freaking out a little bit. He's just like, holy shit, we've flown this guy over here, and you haven't written anything. You have nothing mapped out, nothing ready at all. He's like, no, just tell me what it is. I'll sit down and make something up. And Scott's like ready to pull his hair out because he was one of those guys that likes folks to kind of come in, prepared, ready to go.
Do your homework.
Yeah, exactly, a little bit. And so he's like, fine, okay, So he's like, I sit down, I hit the button, and he just picks up the guitar, and he just fucking nails it. Every note, picture perfect. And he's just like, was that good? He's like, yeah. He's like, okay, which one do you want me to do next?
Do you want me to double it? He said, you want me to double it? He just pulled this out of his ass, and now you want me to double it again? Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. And then it's like, so which one next? Like, I don't know. This one is like, okay. Here, how about this? And Scott says, and I learned never to ever question Andy LaRocque again.
Yeah. Yep. He's good shit.
We can't go on without a mention of the EF Band album with him on it. What are you talking about?
The EF Band? What are you talking about?
He played guitar on one of their albums.
There's a band called EF?
It's EF Band.
Yep.
Never even heard of them.
You know him, don't you, Alan?
Yeah, I know the name. Mm-hmm.
You listen to him, Marty. You might dig him.
Huh. Check it out.
But he played, just for people that are down below, like, oh, I love Andy's playing. That's a record that's kind of under the radar by him way early in his days.
Right on.
Is it to me or is it to you, Marty?
Oh,
it's
it's to me.
Marty just did King Diamond.
I said King Diamond.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could sidetrack with the EF Band. Okay. This one here, man, nobody ever talks about. I don't know if anybody likes it in the world but me, but I fucking love it. Stone from Finland.
Oh, yeah, Finland.
They were on Mechanics Records. I bought it because it was on Voivod, was on that label at the time. I fucking bought it, and the first track was called Get Stoned. I thought it was one of the catchiest anthems I'd heard forever, speed metal. The whole record was fucking pretty cool. They had a lot of broken English because of the Finnish connection.
Mm-hmm.
One of the guys went on to do The Children of Bottom and all that stuff. But I thought this record was fucking really technical, but with some good songs on there too. I heard a little bit of Voivod in there too on this one. Yeah, that's one of the covers for it. The U.S. one just had the Stones.
Yep.
But that,
yep.
Yeah, Get Stoned, No Commands. That's fucking great. They actually did a video. I want to say it was for I think it was for Real Delusion. There's actually a video that I saw on like Comcast TV, like on a free channel one time. I'm like, they got a fucking Stone video up here from the first record. It was weird. They did a bunch of records after this one too, but I think this record is very underrated. And I remember it sitting literally in the Dollar Tree. They had a blowout on CDs. They must have had 100 Stone CDs for $1 in there. They had Corner in there. A lot of the Noise and Mechanics was in there. I think they had Violence in there. And just all these records CDs were $1. So we used to buy them up and give them to our fucking friends. But it's
hey, Ben,
cool.
Brain Smasher just sent me a picture of that EF Band cover on my. So cheers to you, Ben.
Yeah, you go. Hey, John, I see that. Yeah, Empire. Yeah, Stone. That is a great fucking. That's the best era right there. Mechanics pushed them for a year, then they kind of went underground again, and they just kind of sat in Finland.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys know them or not.
Yeah.
I had that album. I had that album. I didn't like it, and I gave it away. But that was a long time ago.
I haven't listened to them in ages, but yeah, they were pretty cool.
I'd like to rehear it, re-listen to it, because like I said, I got it in the cutout bin. I might like it more now.
It's a little awkward because of the broken English and not every.
I like that. I like that though. I like that.
No, I don't mind it either. That's why. I mean, I dig it. The song Get Stoned, we actually covered on the deceased Thrash Times Ridgemont High. We actually, fucking covered that tune.
Right on. All right, Alan. Hey, everybody. I just want to say thanks for joining us again tonight. Good turnout again. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. It's always good to have all you folks. You keep the show spinning down the road for sure. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yep. There've been lots of good stuff mentioned in the chat. Some of it we'll still get to, and some of it we won't have time to. But yeah, tons of cool albums being mentioned over there.
I've only got let's see, one. I've got two more on my list on my.
I've got 2 or 3.
I've got probably 5 or 6.
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine with. Actually, I got 3. So I'm good for 3 more rounds.
We're good.
We'll do about 3 more each. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
One I'm going to mention might be my last trip to Germany for the night, but Running Wild does have an album from '88. Port Royal kind of gets overlooked in their catalog. It's sandwiched between 2 albums that get a lot more attention. You know, the album before this is Under Jolly Roger, where they, debut the whole pirate thing, which some people like, and some people jumped ship. Yeah.
Ahoy, baby. Ahoy, baby.
King sees what I'm doing. And then after this, is Death or Glory, which is the one a lot of people really hail as, one of their favorites from the catalog. So this one kind of just has this awkward in between. It's got the middle child syndrome a little bit, but it's quite good. They've got the whole shtick down by this point just fine. It's a really good set of tracks. It's got Conquistadors on it, which is
great song,
great fluid guitar work.
Great song.
Yeah, it's killer. Port Royal itself is good. Raging Fire is very strong. What else is on here? Blown to Kingdom Come, Calico Jack, kind of one of their early attempts at, writing a pirate themed song. And that's always one of the misconceptions. Everybody thinks that, every song's about pirates. Not really. There's songs on here about Native American history, Western history, motorcycle songs. They run a gamut. It's not just yo ho ho every single song. That kind of bullshit is saved for Ailstorm. Running Wild had a much wider, range of topics they covered than that. So yeah, this is a very, very solid album. If you skipped it and you like, Running Wild in this late 80s style, you should definitely go back and check this one out. One word of warning though, if you do, this copy I've got's an older noise CD pressing.
Yeah, the noise font. I love it. That's an instant shot of nostalgia.
Yep. Yeah. And the sound quality on this thing absolutely blows. This is one of those horrible CDs. You have to turn it up to but if your stereo goes to 20, you've got to turn this to 18 before you can hear a goddamn thing on it. It's incredibly annoying.
I got a Running Wild trivia question, and I don't know the answer, so you're going to give me the answer now because I know you're the one to go to. Maybe Marty knows it. Which is the Running Wild album that has the explosion on it, where they put the warning that not to blow your speakers when you're listening to it? There's a sticker that came on one of their records that said this record had an explosion sound that could blow your speakers.
I think it was Under Jolly Roger, but I'm not certain.
Anybody watching who
I have represses of all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it was literally had a sticker. It said warning that this could literally blow your speakers to the explosion. They recorded on that record somewhere.
I'll go check. I think
it was literally a warning with skull and crossbones.
Yeah, I'll go check here in a second. I think it's Under Jolly Roger because they're doing the big cannon shots, at the start of that. That's the only one I can think of that would fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 3 people that said Under Jolly Roger. So yeah, there you go.
And with my question and trivia, kind of where I'm at, for me, Running Wild, I'm always Gates of Purgatory, Brandon and Exile guy.
Oh, yeah.
Pirate stuff wasn't bad. I go back and hear it. It's okay. I don't ever dislike them or anything. They were always somewhere in that middle, those Judas Priest beats at times, et cetera, and it wasn't bad. My thing with them was that I really, at that time, the records kind of ran together for me. And
I can see that.
Even like now, I'm like, I usually, my memory's good on almost anything. And then for them, it's like, I don't even remember the order they came out. I was kind of like, it ain't the same anymore. But I still bought them. I had some of those later records I would get from Hellion Records in Germany that were like, now that I'm looking at them, they're worth so much money because it was like these real quick presses of a lot of that stuff. The later ones a little more. But I think I had a picture disc of this one.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Are you then?
Up next. You know what? I'm showing this record because, was this an absolute diehard favorite from the year? It's not. It's on the list, but it's not high on the list. But I love this record. It sounds like it was recorded in a garage. It's kind of like the Accused vibe, but Man, I always loved Cryptic Slaughter's Stream of Consciousness.
Oh,
I love this record. And, after Money Talks, which was like produced and a little too slick, you got the speed attack of Convicted. You got Money Talks, which is a little more, some slower kind of jams on it. This here is just 4 dudes in a garage ripping ass. It's almost borderline grind at times. It's punk, it's a hardcore metal crossover. I don't know. I loved, what's his name? I don't remember his name. The vocalist, his screaming style. Yep. I don't know. King, I figured this would be down your,
I like it, but I don't like the sound of it. I wish it was
I love the sound. I love how you can hear everything. I love it.
Because I can actually hear the kick and the snare more. Convicted is the one. For me, it's one's the best, two's second best, this is third. I don't mind it. They're playing fast. It's crazy.
It's fast and good songs.
The bass player's getting ready to take off and be in fucking Ozzy here, a few years later.
Yeah.
You know that,
crazy.
Right?
I did not know that. No, did not know that. No, that I listened to that a lot. I got it. I remember getting it.
It sounded like it was recorded at we've got $6 studio.
Yeah. And I got it when it came out, and I'm like, the sound is weird, but it sounds like it was recorded in a garage, but I like the energy of it. It's just a fuck you type of blast furnace.
It's definitely Cryptic Slaughter. I'll give them that.
Yeah. And then Speak Your Peace came out, and I'm like, what the fuck?
I didn't like
what
that.
the fuck happened?
But I didn't like that one either. I'm with you on that, my friend.
All right, King, what you got?
Okay, I got 3 on my list. One, hardly nobody's going to know. One, people are going to know the most. I'm going to go with the one in the middle. Viking, Do or Die.
Nice.
Oh, that's a good record.
California thrash record. Very Dark Angelist. Obviously, Brett Erickson ended up doing some Dark Angel stuff. Really good record. Simple thrash, but fucking the attack was there. I mean, it was really good. It was under the radar. I think it was Metal Blade Records. I remember hearing them on Metal Massacre. I think it was 7 or 8 they were on, maybe 8. I think it was. Really good record. I mean, those guys were cool. They came on tour. We saw them play, and they ripped it up live. It's just a simple thrash record that for me was a damn good record for '88.
Yeah, right. Very solid band. Doesn't get talked about much.
Put something in the chat here. Alan, you're up.
All right. We should talk about this one. It's not going to be anybody's favorite, but it was a thing from '88 from a big band.
I knew it was coming.
We kind of have to ram it down everybody's throats, I guess. But yeah, so
now we're back to Samantha Fox again.
Yeah, this is what Judas Priest is doing. Yeah, they do have an album in '88. They're a huge band at the time. I don't think this one's going to make anybody. There's somebody out there maybe who has this as their favorite Priest album. That's fine. It does have some good songs on it. It gets lambasted, and deservedly so in some cases. But I'm looking at the track list right now. You've got, let's see, Ram It Down itself, very, kind of strong, forceful, up-tempo, aggressive song. Can go with that. Hard as Iron, kind of the same. Blood Red Skies has a very cool vibe to it.
That's the one everybody used to say was the song.
Yeah, that one builds up really cool. It's got a good tension to it. Works great. 3. Okay, it has 3 really standout tracks.
Maybe on
about Johnny Be Good.
My copy doesn't have 3 going. To me, that record sounds like the theme to Different Strokes, man. It's bad. It's fucking bad.
I mean, it has, you've got, it famously has, leftovers from the Turbo sessions.
It sounds like a leftover Turbo album, but it's okay.
Yeah. Turbo has,
For me, it's fucking god fucking awful, and they should be fucking embarrassed. That's Judas Priest. That's not some fucking nobody band under the thing. That's Judas Priest. That's following other bands and not being a leader anymore, which they got famous for doing, and they still do to this day. I lost Judas Priest before this. We talked about it before. I won't go into all that. But this record here, I was in a store at Waxy Maxie's and they were playing. I said, "What the fuck is this?" They're like, "New Judas Priest." I said, "What the? You got to be fucking kidding me!" They're like, "This is new Judas Priest. Ram It Down." And they handed it to me. I'm looking at it. I'm like, "What the fuck?" So by the time I'd done my shopping, I'd heard most of the record. I was just like fucking embarrassed for them and disgraced that that's how far one of the literally legend bands of heavy metal had fallen. I mean, that wasn't even as good as the bands they were trying to be, That's like when Kiss trying to be Bon Jovi,
Yeah.
It's bad, man.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the cover, the Johnny B. Good cover, yes, is absolutely, hits, rock bottom there. So no, not a stellar album at all. Pretty weak
For
album.
me, 0. That would be an F. That would be an F.
I wouldn't give it an F. It's got 3 songs I like, so it's not an F.
An F
but
with a U after it.
I guess is it a C minus? I don't know if it gets to that or not. C minus, D plus, somewhere in there. But it kind of fits the pattern of what we've seen with some of these others, though. A lot of these established bands, they're not on the top of their game in '88.
I think a lot of these bands were lost. Again, I mean, heavy metal was kind of out.
It was struggling. It was struggling.
Yeah, I mean, it's very popular. The bands are doing well. They're selling albums and selling tickets. But yeah, we're just seeing, the good bands are making good albums, but they've already made their best album. Bands like this, have kind of wandered off the path a bit. You have some bands that are putting out prime stuff, but they are maybe younger bands, different bands that are more underground. So yeah, it's an interesting mix of stuff in '88. It strikes me because '86, is talked about as possibly the best year for metal recordings. Marty and I covered 1987 a month or two back, and all of us on that show recognize that holy shit, '87 has a lot of incredibly strong albums on it. Just maybe a step behind '86.
Right.
You look at this list from '88, it's like there's a lot of great albums here, but there are very few cases where I would have thought like this is the band's best album. It's often like maybe this is the band's second or third best album at best. So yeah, with lots of great albums that we love.
This record right here is the worst record of the night for me so far.
This one's not good.
I never liked Coroner, et cetera, Metallica. This is worse than even that.
Yeah, for a lot of folks, it's down there. Like I said, I wanted to mention it
this is
because
Judas
it's part of 1988.
This is what people got to remember. This is fucking Judas Priest. This isn't one of these middle-of-the-road bands or Metal Blade did 3 albums, Liege Lord, none of these kind of bands. This is fucking Judas Priest writing Love Zone and fucking Monsters of Rock. And you're just like, the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? But the obvious thing is they were pie charting it too going forward, because you notice they heavied it up when Heavy came in. They heavied it even more when Halford went out. And then when it was cool to be heavy metal again, they went back and did heavy metal again. Why don't you just play a fucking heavy metal and ride through it? Iron Maiden did it, whether you didn't think it was their best album. It still was fucking Iron Maiden. For Christ's sake. And you know what I'm saying?
You're right.
And that's one of the this is of all heavy metal. This is one of the bands that I'm the most disgusted with, because I'm a Screamer for Vengeance back guy. I don't think Defenders of Faith is that good of a record at all. I've told you before, Bubblegum Anthems. It was the start of it for me. It was a little let down. We talked about this 3 shows ago, but back from that, I love it, man. They were the fucking leaders. They were one of the grandfathers of it all. And to go this bad, I mean, you're like stooping down to like Keel fucking level.
Whoa. Let's not say things we can't take back.
You're Ron Keel. I mean, you're talking horse shit. Bo Nasty.
We're getting into actionable territory here. We gotta watch out.
Fucking mighty.
Yeah, no,
that's my opinion.
No, it's I think for most folks, this it's Priest. It's what they're doing in '88. It's not it's not that song. Not good. A couple of tracks, a couple of standout tracks does not make an album good. I mean, Marty and I sat through Halloween's Chameleon a few weeks ago. That had 3 good songs on it too, and I wouldn't wipe my ass with that album because my ass deserves better.
Right.
Anywho, Marty, Marty, show us a good album. Show us a good album. I've showed us a bad controversial album that was part of 1988. You show us a good one. I'm
not going to show necessarily a great album. It's an album. This is kind of like a master or
if it's a Keel album, so help me God, I'm coming.
No, I own no Keel.
The Final Frontier. What a fucking album!
A lot like Injustice for All. This album I had to work at to like, and it's from a band that I love. And for a while there, Overkill, every other album was great for me. This one was kind of a miss for me. Feel the Fire is forever my favorite Overkill album. That's a perfect record. That is a perfect, exactly, a 10 out of 10 record. It's unique. It's got a bit of a punk vibe to it. The songs are great. Blitz sounds amazing. Taking Over, I like it. They changed, but I like it. This is their third album, Under the Influence. They got Sid Falk on drums. I liked Rat Skates. I liked his fast and loose style. Sid Falk. You got Shred on here, which isn't a great song. You've got Head First, which is a screwing a groupie type of song. I mean, Overkill 3 is good. There's some good songs on here, and the more I spun it, the more I liked it. But this, for a while, I had an Overkill shirt for every day of the week at school. I just did. They were like one of my favorite bands, 100%. For a long time, they were one of my favorite bands. I mean,
still a great live band. Bobby Blitz, one of the best frontmen.
He is an amazing frontman. They're great live, and I like some of their later albums. I like some of their newer albums. They're good. They're still a good band. But after Horoscope, yeah.
I was gonna say, I think your copy's missing 2 words for the title, though, of
What?
Anthrax.
What's that?
Under the Influence of Anthrax is what they should have called that record. They were
Nice.
trying too
Yeah,
hard.
that's a good point. That's a
They were
good point.
definitely trying to be like more like Anthraxy and like, blah, blah, blah. We know they came back strong as shit with Years of Decay, which is a damn good record with a goddamn dull production.
Oh,
But
yeah.
This record to me, when I first got it, I was like, they're trying to be fucking Anthrax.
Alex
could not get
Paralis production. It's a little too clean for me. A little too clean. I don't know. I ended up appreciating it because, like I said, I get that tape. I love Overkill. I'm spinning it until I like it, and I eventually did like it. But with the 2 others that came before it, I'm listening to Feel the Fire every fucking time.
Feel the Fire. I love Feel the Fire. I love fucking Taking Over. I think it's great too.
I think it's a great record,
and I love Years of Decay. Those are the 3 I really love. After that, they had years where I liked songs here and there.
Horoscope, brother. Horoscope is an album you need to revisit.
I like some of that. Those were records that were like decent, like Thanks for Nothing. I don't remember all the songs. Was there one called Wide Fucking Open or
yeah?
That was an album, yeah.
Yeah. And then they had a little bit of time there where they had a little bit of that fucking Rob Zombie groove on one of those records. They kind of got a little bit sidetracked.
I Hear Black was terrible. What a crap record.
Oh, that was the grunge era when everybody had to look at their feet. Everybody was staring at the shoes all the time.
Yep.
But anyway, no, I this is the one I don't care for of the first 4. I mean, the EP we count too, the Azra EP, which is for LPs. This is the one I thought it was too Anthraxy. I just thought it was too. I don't want to say sissy-ish, but just kind of like this didn't have that Overkill blood metal donor to it.
Oh God, so good, man. I love Overkill.
I feel the fire. They blew Slayer off the fucking stage on Rain and Blood tour. They destroyed them. In DC, they were amazing live. We saw that tour. I told you twice in a week.
Yep.
And I always went to see. I still see him a lot because I think Bobby Blitz one of the best frontmen ever in underground.
He's great, and he's got such a unique voice. No one sounds like him. It's great.
A lot. He knows how to ride a bike. How about I heard he rides a bike like 100 miles a day.
Fucker had a stroke on stage or some shit.
Yeah, I know all about that. Not on stage, but yeah, we were talking about that one time, me and him. He's like, "Did you get a TIA?" I'm like, "No, I got the full motherfucking throttle," but he was very cool.
Right on.
But
even the cover art on that album just screams Anthrax with the cartoon kid hiding in the pipe, and stuff.
I like that Charlie looks cool, but I don't know. The kid in the pipe is too comic booky and like Nickelodeon comic book. He got the fucking ooze.
You hear that Bobby Gustafson story? Why they got the Overkill green?
Why?
Because Twisted Sister told him, get a color that people don't use. Your shirt will stick out in the room. Because Twisted Sister already took that fucking pink.
Yeah.
So they took this fucking green. Bobby Gustafson said that was I think it was JJ French told him that. He said, get yourself a color and stay with it. Now that's known as Overkill green. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
And that right away is the first thing that tells you that
people love or they don't like it all, or they had the fucking movie. They had the fucking they were on tour with AC/DC after the fucking movie, fucking played Giant Stadium. Nobody gave a fuck. I still like them. They've had some big-headed moments for whatever reason. They're just a band that plays like Raven. A lot of times they'll play to some small rooms or, lesser rooms. And that's Anvil, pound for pound. I thought this was a fucking great record. This is a great fucking Blood on the Ice was on this fucking thing. When it came out, they were on Metal Blade. Anvil missed the boat. Everybody talks about this movie and they show like Anthrax and Metallica. Oh, they were so good. Why didn't they ever make it? Well, why didn't you fucking take them out on fucking tour when you got big instead of fucking Godsmack and fucking Limp Bizkit and all these fucking bands if you were so into them? But I just thought they were, doing their own fucking thing at this time. And this record was great. And we saw this tour, and they toured with Death, and Death opened for them. And after Death played, everybody left at the show I went to except for 6 of us. And I knew every fucking song. I was right in the front, and some guy I was talking to the whole show. He's like, dude, I've never seen a guy know every fucking Anvil lyric to every song. And I'm like, dude, I love Anvil. I'm watching fucking Rob Reiner just kill the kid. And fucking
he's so good.
Over, he goes, come with me, man. I was like, what's up? He's like, I'm buying you a fucking T-shirt, man. You're the biggest Anvil freak. But I thought this was just a great record, great production, and they were still fucking with, I don't like them as much when they only have Lips playing guitar. They need 2 guitar players in this band. And I know they tour so much that it's easier to get 3 people around than it is to get 4, but they need that. They've never, their records come and go. They have a good song here and there. At least it's still Anvil, but this was one of the last ones I really, really liked by them. Metal on Metal is one of the most important records for me in the history of metal.
It's a good record. They've got some great records.
Or something else for me. That's the record that got me into speed metal. 666, fucking Jackhammer. Heat Sink, things like that were speed metal. When I was a kid, I was 14, and I was loving that shit. And this record just, it had the last of that barbaric Anvil that I love. Then it became more like, beer drinking, I want to say rock and roll. They still got their metal moments, but I think this is a very underrated record. I really do. And let me see something. Oh, yeah. Hold on one second. I'll be right back. Go ahead. You say something about it. I'll be right back.
I will say, I think the one thing that's held Anvil back is Lip's voice. I like the Anvil. I like Anvil, but his voice, especially as he's gotten older, he struggles. It's got a charm
for sure. Now
he's got a charm to it. It works for Anvil, but it's just he struggles, and I think that holds a lot of people back. Yeah,
promo only. Hockey puck came with it when it came out.
Oh, nice.
I
was like, it's right there. Cool. I keep it in my living room next to my, my children's fucking pictures.
Right. Right.
Important shit. I've never had a problem with Lips, but I've had some friends, including Brian from October, who said he was a prick to him at times. He's been nothing but kind to me. Some of those old shows, I know, Marty, I think you might have made 1 or 2 of those, or maybe you did, Alan, maybe you didn't. Those old Brad Youngblood classic metal fests. They used to happen in Indiana and Cleveland.
The first one was in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I was at that one.
Yeah, I definitely know you were at that one. But we played one in Cleveland with Anvil, and Anvil's like, dude, use all our gear. Let's hang out. We sat backstage, had spaghetti together. We're talking about the next Anvil album. We were going to call it Meatball on Meatball, and fucking they're super cool guys. But then some people were like, dude, he was a fucking dick. He was a rock star to me. And yeah, when the movie took off, I could see he probably lost his way for a bit, but always been nothing but kind to me. Yeah. Rob Reiner's one of the best drummers ever.
He's a fantastic fucking drummer.
Heavy metal drummer, and it's just those 2 guys. But it was weird. They had AC/DC's management for a little bit, and they literally played the Meadowlands to whatever that stadium holds, 90,000 people. They were opening for AC/DC. That lasted all of 3 months because they're a bar band. They'll always be a bar band.
Yep.
That's okay. Yep. I mean, Twisted Sister should have stayed a bar band, if you want my opinion. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I love that record, pound for pound, a great record. If anybody's fucking looking for some old Anvil, lesser known records besides, of course, Metal on Metal, Forged in Fire, or Hard and Heavy, that's the one to go to, in my opinion.
Yeah. Something folks have to keep in mind too, and you'll hear all the time that, I met so-and-so and they were kind of a prick to me. Everyone's going to have their bad days, or you're just going to catch them at that wrong time.
Except for me, I'm the nicest guy in metal.
Except for Ken. But yeah, sometimes you just catch them at the wrong time.
Even when you were drinking, you were a nice guy.
I know, it's weird. I just had to call out the fucking fake fucking dickheads in the scene. That's what got to us.
Yeah, I hate to see folks.
We played with them a bunch of times. They were cool to me, but I've had some dear friends that are like, dude, I don't support Anvil at all, man. Fuck, Lips was a dick to me.
But yeah, anybody who's been around that long and is on the road that much, they're going to have their grumpy.
And they do live on the road.
Yeah, sometimes you come up and want to talk to them, and they've spent the last 90 minutes trying to get their gear fixed, and shit's not working, and the venue isn't delivering the stuff they promised, and they're just gonna, hey, what the fuck do you want? Fuck off right now. I've got other shit to do. Then they go play the 9. It doesn't mean they're to everyone all the time. Sometimes you just catch them on the wrong day. Some people, and King, you probably know this, some people, when they come up and approach these folks, they can be horribly obnoxious about it as well. It's like, just dial it down a little bit.
Now you talk about the guy we were in Germany, playing. We went to Germany we did a tour. We were over there, and this guy comes. He was like, it was 2:00 in the afternoon, and they were like, "Oh, come on in, and we have fruit for you, and a bunch of beer and soda, whatever you want." So the guy was outside. And he was like, "Oh man, I've been waiting for this since '86," and I was like, "Yeah, all right, come on in." So he comes in. He's totally cool all day. Then he starts tilting the can. And by about 10 o'clock, he keeps punching me in my fucking sternum like 30 times. Hey, man. And I'm like, dude, chill. That's starting to fucking, add up, And he's like, oh, man, I love this thing. So I'm like, dude, you got to chill. You got to fucking chill. And then he's like, hit me. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to hit you back. And so he's like, go ahead. So I turned and I fucking hit him. And he flew all the way across. And Shane, our guitar player, Shane goes, you just hit that guy? I'm like, dude, he just hit me my sternum like 62 times. And the guy's sitting down in the corner and he's looking at me and he's all fucked up. And I'm like, dude. And I pull him up and go sit down. I was like, dude, I thought you liked the band. He goes, I love you guys. I'm like, dude, my sternum's going to hurt for a week. You've been punching me in it since 4:00. It's 11:30. And he just fucking, it was funny. But we cleared it up. But yes, you're right. It can be weird at times.
Yep.
There's moments like that, but we just laughed when it was said and done. But I was like, dude. And the next day, he's like, I'm so sorry. Then he started following us to shows.
I think what's weird is I think that it probably gets a little old and strange is the longer you're in it is people think they know who you are. They watch you on YouTube or they're into your band. They read your lyrics. They become such a fan that when they meet you, if you don't meet up to their maybe lofty expectations, it's, oh, that guy's a dick. Or, it's
right.
It's kind of it puts the person in a lose-lose situation,
I mean, but most of these underground bands and even some of the bigger underground bands and not so underground bands, you gotta make the time. We were in Mexico a couple months ago and I went out there and was talking, there was 7,000 people there. And I'm out there and they're like, dude, you're one of the only people to come out and say hi to anybody. And I'm like, well, I don't understand that. I was like, man, this is fucking cool. And I said, everybody backstage is cool. I don't know why they won't come out here. And, and then they were like, they never do. And I was like, man, I'm in Mexico one time. I appreciate y'all coming to see the show. And we had a great fucking time. But then, a lot of these people just won't make the time. They just won't make the time. And hey, to each their own. It's their time. It's their band. Maybe they don't want to get sick. Maybe they think there's something there. Maybe they don't want to go near people. Maybe they're scared of people. Maybe whatever. Doesn't matter, but it's weird to me sometimes that was, and I'm nobody. I mean, when I go out there and I see some people, they're like, yeah, man, King. And when I'm talking, I'm all night. They'll be wanting to go home and I'll be telling them, I'll be still talking. You know what I'm saying? You know that. But fucking, and I guess that's just each person is either outrageous personality. That's me, loudmouth in the room, or they don't got nothing to say at all. But I was just like, man, because some of them were like yelling for some of the bands. And I'm like, I'll go grab them. And I'm over there. I'm like, yeah, these people want to meet you. No, dude, no way. And I'm like, all right. But Anvil pound for pound kicks ass. That's all I got to say. All right, a sidetrack.
Oh, it's all good. Alan, I'm going to go use the boys' room while you talk. I'll be right back.
All right. Let's see. We have not talked about this album yet. I don't know if Marty had it or King if it's on your list, but it's time. This comes out in 88 and obviously has a huge impact on things that would start happening faster and faster as you head into 89. Death's Leprosy. A lot of folks, of course, still gravitate back to the debut, but this is a step forward for the band, because it's becoming more of a band at this point. It's not just two guys splicing it all together, mostly on their own. When I first heard Leprosy, it didn't click. It was one of those cases where sometimes you hear a type of music for the first time and your brain just tells you it's not that it's bad, it's just that I don't know what to do with that. So this is one I kind of had to shelve. It's like, I'll revisit that sometime in the future.
Right.
And so I've come back around and like the album a lot now. But it's a huge cornerstone in death metal, and rightfully so. It gives death metal one of its first anthems and Pull the Plug. You've got the iconic cover art. Marty's taking a piss, which is appropriate while we're talking about the cover art, because Marty, not so much a Repka fan, but nevertheless, it's one of the images. It just all starts to come together here, and it's interesting timing too, because like we've been saying tonight, some of these thrash bands have gotten too technical. Some of them have gotten just a little over the hill in terms of putting out their best stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and right here is something that's going to be more extreme and more heavy. That's just waiting right there in the wings to swoop in and grab everybody's attention. The future was already there in '88. It was technically there at least in '87 with Scream Bloody Gore, but it's not going to take much longer before this stuff really starts to take the extreme metal fans out of thrash and be like, hey, look what we're doing. And everybody goes that way.
I'm not a Death fan much at all. I like the Mantis rehearsals tapes from back in the day. I like the early Death live tapes. I like when Cam Lee was singing for the Mantis and then Death and stuff. And then I came off of drugs in '86 and in the early '87, and Mark came over from Deceased with the Scream Bloody Gore, and we listened to it. And I was like, it's okay. The best songs for me are still the old ones on that, like Baptized in Blood and fucking like the bonus tracks like Evil Dead or Beyond the Unholy Grave. Yep. I didn't care for the more we're going technical kind of vibe to it. This record came out. I did buy it. I remember I went to this girl Mandy's house and I played it and I looked at it and I thought the artwork was funny because I thought, why is it pink? Which was kind of bizarre to me. And, the logo was kind of like sitting in the middle of nowhere. Put it on. It didn't do anything for me. It just kind of came and went. I didn't like the vocals. I didn't like his vocals on the debut either. It just was one of those bands that to this day, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, people loved them and stuff, and me and him had our differences. I'm not even going there just as a music person. It just didn't do much for me at all. I played it once or twice, and I moved on to something else. It just wasn't that vicious to me. It was forgettable. I thought he was one of the main guys that took riffs and didn't make songs of it. Now, there's plenty of people that would disagree with me, and more power to you. But being genuinely honest with you, I had this record. I played it at her house twice, and I think I traded it to somebody. Didn't even keep it in my collection. It was just that for me. And then going forward, spiritual healing, et cetera, it was more of the same. I think the only record I ever got much into at all after that, and it had a couple good tunes, was the Symbolic one. And it was a different style sounding band by then. And it still wasn't that much to me, but it was better than that. Yeah. It's just something I wouldn't even own it. I didn't even care for it that much at all.
Yeah, I had this on my stack too, and there's another one of those records I had to fight to like. I really like Scream Bloody Gore, like Mutilation, Beyond the Unholy Grave, Zombie Ritual, Baptized in Blood. I mean, you nailed a couple of the really good ones on there, King, for sure. And I loved the Evil Chuck vocals where he took it up, screamed really super high. I thought it was super sick. But this here record is a little more, they cleaned it up. They cleaned it up a bit. Production's a little bit better. I don't know, man. It's good. I like it. Pull the Plug, Born Dead. That's a good song. Left to Die is a good song. There's some good songs on here, but I'm still a little enamored with the first album. My favorite Death album's the first one. So
Bill Andrews is a good drummer, but I just don't think he's creative enough for what he needed then.
He held it down. He held it down right. He did a good job holding it down.
It seems like it's just kind of lost. And if this other record comes up, which I'm sure it will come up at some point, I'll say the same thing about the drummer that they had on that record too, which will be the same similarities. They needed more of a drummer than what he was a great player for what he could do, simplified, and he could play drums, but it just didn't. To me, it hurt the record, the drumming.
Right. All right.
Marty, you got a couple more?
I got the Bay Area here. It's probably one of my favorites from the Bay Area for its time. And it's because of Russ Anderson's vocals. I really like Forbidden, first two albums. I have not heard anything past Twisted into Form. I could never find the records. There was a Distortion and Green.
Yeah, one of those ones I remember reviewing it, and it was like almost grunge.
Was it? Okay, good to know. Because
modern. I can't remember either. I don't know which one it was either.
I think it was Green. Yeah,
I saw them on the Twisted into Form tour with Death Angel on Act 3 and Realm for Endless War tour. And they were great. But this one here, it's good. I mean, it's Bay Area thrash. I really like Russ's vocals. He's a weird fit with this style a little bit, but he's a really good singer. And
he's a good singer.
Follow Me, what a great song. They end the album with a banger. On the Edge, I really like. Through Eyes of Glass, great song. There's some good songs on here. Great band. They kind of were in the shadow of the Testaments and everybody else, but they're on Combat here. What's that?
I said that was coming up for sure. That whole Bay Area thing was rolling. They were looking for the next Metallica or Exodus, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. But I think these guys were worthy.
Yeah, I'm not a big Bay Area guy again, like I said, but I like that. I don't think that's as thrashy as people think it is. I think it's more of like a heavy metal kind of thing.
It's a little more trad metal in there. Yep.
They lean that way.
Metal churchy, I would even say at times. It's not bad. I saw him on that. We saw him with Sacred Reich on that tour somewhere. I think it was. I remember we were getting in shit with Phil from Sacred Reich over something, but it was at the Safari Club, and they weren't bad. They weren't bad. I mean, I don't love it. I owned it. I'd still, I've listened to it now and then. I do like the vocals probably best about it.
Yep. All right.
Yeah. Chalice and Blood was the song that everybody played over and over.
That was the hit.
Yep.
I've got only one more on my list, and nobody will know what it is. So I'm going to say it, but let me run with something else after it. I just want to make a mention of Fingernails from Italy.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great cool little record with a great guitar player, one of the best guitar players in Italy at the time. Raw, raunchy, cool, neat, different Fingernails. But no one's going to know what that is. So I'm going to go with one that I think was a letdown record. But this is the one I was going to say with the drummer didn't make it work either. Fate's Warning, No Exit.
I was so disappointed.
I've never been able to get into that
Ray Alder came into the band. He was one of those kind of singers that can sing, but he's not special, which there's a bunch of those kind of
And he was trying to sing like John Arch because it was...
he couldn't do it. John Arch is a one of a kind, and you can't knock him for, not being able to do it. He is his own person. I much preferred him on Perfect Symmetry, which followed this one, but they were trying to get to that realm on this one, which I was going to say is the drummer, Steve Zimmerman. He couldn't do it. That's what I'm saying about the guy in Death. He couldn't keep up with their technical prowess trying to go there. So they replaced him with Mark Sonder, a la Warlord, on the next one. But I was disappointed a lot with this record when it came out. I didn't think it was that good. Silent Cries.
I wanted John Arch. John Arch.
Silent Cries was all over Headbangers Ball, and it's a decent song. But for the most part, that record doesn't do much for me. And that long song fucking never did.
The Ivory Dreams thing or whatever.
That fucking thing. I defended Fate's Warning for a long time. Mark from Deceased never liked him, and I still think that those three John Arch are great. And I like him I'm very different from most people. I think Night on Brocken's the best one. I think Spectre Within's second best, and Awaken's third. And I know I see your poster behind you. You love that Awaken the Guardian, and I don't blame you. It's still damn good. But to me, they were getting a little bit. It was getting too much outside the box to me. Some of the parts were like, okay, now they're trying to go where I don't think they can go. And
it was more feeling. It was way more of an emotional album for me, like Exodus or Guardian. Those songs are like, make me fucking cry.
And we'll give everybody a quick little trivia. That album was originally called Prelude to Ruin, and they changed it last minute. Prelude to Ruin instead of Awaken the Guardian. That's just a little trivia while we're here. But No Exit. No plays at my house, man. It was disappointing. I don't like I think the album cover is stupid.
It's a horrible looking cover.
It was the first time I was disappointed with them. And I just brought it up because I think it was in your little things here underneath this. So I just wanted to go with something to keep my turn going. I'm out of stuff on my list. I'll let that sit there and I'll just discuss whatever you guys want to talk about going forward. Not a problem. But No Exit. First time Fate's Warning let me down. I would give it a C plus.
And it's not because it sucks. It's just because it didn't have John Arch. I mean, I listened to Ray.
You can't go.
I'm listening to Ray sing like on Silent Cries. He's trying to sing like John Arch.
I mean, we can say it with this. You can't go from Awaken the Guardian to that. You just can't do it.
I mean, what are you going to do?
Step down.
And then I'm reading all these interviews with Jim, like slamming on the old shit, like it's garbage. I'm like, fuck off, dude.
I interviewed him on Awaken the Guardian for my magazine at the time, and he told me Mr. La La is not going to be around much longer. He kept calling him Mr. La La La. Talking about Arch, he's like, all he does is la 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 la. He was literally saying that back then. He's like, and the guy does push-ups on stage. He does push-ups, and maybe that's not great, but I don't give a fuck. That dude sang his ass off on his records, dude.
Yep.
And then he comes back with him and on that John Arch 2-song EP, and I was blown the fuck away. Those songs are amazing. I'm like, oh my God.
the first EP blows the other stuff away. They did that first.
I do like the first Sympathetic Resonance. I do like that record.
I don't like whichever one they did where it had the syncopated Pantera kind of stopping riffs.
There was some syncopated shit on there, but I still hearing John saying,
"Yeah, he's
really bringing it." He's a fucking.
That's somebody I'd like to shake his hand because he seems like a great guy.
Yeah,
Never met him.
Like
we went to see him on Awaken the Guardian, and they didn't play. They literally were on the bus. We got there. You all playing now. We're not going to play. And we tried to talk to him, and he just got on the bus and sat on the bus. They wouldn't even talk to us. So that was kind of fucked up. But
yeah. Oh my God. We go on Awaken the Guardian. Oh, I love it. Anyway, I like the cover art on Night on Brocken. I like.
Me too.
A lot of the songs on it. I like Spectre. I like the first 3 records. They're all amazing.
When I did the interview, the big interview for my movie. We just did with the Ken Burns company guys. I'm wearing the Night on Brocken original artwork on the shirt. I was like, this motherfucker. I call it the Thanksgiving art. It's so bad. It's so good.
It's so good.
Thanks for giving us a chance to replace that cover art.
Yeah.
3 times. I still think it's the best one. I love
do too.
Kiss of Death, Damnation, Buried Alive, Misfit. I love it.
Yep.
Perfect record for me.
So good. I'm not going to disagrey with you for there. And Alan, what's up?
All right, so let's see. A few things to mention just quickly. We'll land on this one, but yeah, a few to wrap up with. Let's see. One more Thrash album. Exodus has Fabulous Disaster.
I listened to that a lot when it came out. I did.
I like this one. It's not perfect. It's not going to win Thrash album of the decade or anything. It has its issues, but fun album. And this one, it's a sentimental thing. This was one of the albums we listened to a whole lot, in the parking lot in high school.
Yeah.
So there's always that connection to it. But again, like the other bands we've talked about, not many people are going to take this over Bonded by Blood. So once again, it feels like even if it's a good Exodus album, it's not really hailed as their best.
As I always say, I like 5 songs on Bonded by Blood. Would have made a great EP. Take the slower songs out and give me the fast ones. I'll take Exodus. I'll take Bonded by Blood. I'll take Strike of the Beast. I'll take A Lesson in Violence, and I'll be happy with it. Those 4. You want to throw one more in? I'll give you one more tune, but. They never did it for me. I saw the Bonded by Blood tour, and I was very disappointed. They weren't supposed to be so intense from the West Coast. Oh, you motherfuckers on the East Coast can't dig this. We saw it, and I was like, that's it? That's all we get? It wasn't very good. And then I did not like them at all when they went forward, Pleasure to the Flesh or whatever the fuck that was called. And the guy from, what's his name, Zetro? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep. Steve Zetro.
Yeah, I don't care for his vocals. And I watched something the other night. They do this. It's on right now, I guess. The Headbangers Ball they do on the old MTV channel now. Do y'all ever see that?
No.
Every Friday night they run this thing called Metal Mayhem. It's from 9 till 1 in the morning. You don't know it. If you have MTV stations still, which we know most of the time, it's just a bunch of bullshit.
Well, we don't have cable anymore.
They run a Metal Mayhem from 9 o'clock till 1 in the morning, and they play all the old Headbangers Ball videos. It's in there, and they were playing that "Good Day to Die." Is that on that one? Because that's one of the worst songs I've ever heard anybody.
I think that was on the one after it. Impact is Imminent. Maybe?
Yeah, that one comes.
I was like, man, dude, that sounded like they were trying to be part of the times, modern too. Mm-hmm. But Toxic Waltz or any of that shit, I don't even know which one that was on.
That was on Fabulous Disaster, and so is the cover of Lowrider, which is so stupid.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's
terrible.
Yeah, that's a miss on the album.
None for
sure.
me. Exodus 4 songs on Bonded by Blood, and I'm out, man.
Yep. Yeah, just a couple others to touch on quickly. Manowar has what's probably their best known album. More people probably heard this than most of the others.
That was everywhere when it came out, for sure.
Yeah. You can't get away from this one. I like it myself. It's fun for what it is, but once again, no, it doesn't measure up to what they had done in earlier years. Some people really tune the band out here when they're on Atlantic. Okay, I get it. I'm okay with the Atlantic stuff, but yeah, it's no Hail to England. It's no, Sign of the Hammer. So, Manowar is doing their thing. It's worth it.
That one didn't do much for me at all. I was done with them by Blow Your Speakers with Rock and Roll.
I think both. Yeah,
that one before, but I really did like Louder Than Hell, which was, I guess, also an Atlantic Records one that came later. But Kings of Metal didn't do much
later. Yeah. Yep, we had. Not much to say about this one. The chat talked about this a lot earlier. Celtic Frost turned in their homework for the year, and everybody was sad.
What a fucking turd!
yeah, such a.
They follow up a turd record with a worse turd record.
Yeah.
You should take that record, put it with the Judas Priest record, and have them both go to a Liberace concert.
Well, and think about this though, Marty, to make it, I can actually make it worse. Imagine the drop off for the people that really like Into the Pandemonium, because Into the Pandemonium has a big following. You and I don't care for it much.
There's a couple songs I don't mind, but it's largely a shit album.
Well, to some folks though, I mean that's a big album, a huge thing, and so imagine those poor fuckers going from that to this.
Oh.
And it's rough. This one, that's a thing that happened. But the one I'll actually wrap up on. And we touched on it briefly earlier, but I feel like it deserves screen time for 1988, is South of Heaven. Obviously, the band goes in a different direction after Rain and Blood. It's probably another one of those cases, like you mentioned earlier, King, where there's like, they've kind of done everything they could in that direction, so they kind of have to do something a little different. And some people like this one. Some people do not like this one. I'm fine with it myself. But I do get it especially for fans at the time. If you're going from 29 minutes, just full out speed attack to an album that's got these longer, slower songs on it, it had to be one of those what the hell is going on kind of moments. But I still like this era of Slayer myself.
I talked about this before too. I didn't care for Rain and Blood much at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it was they've dumbed down from fucking Hell Awaits, which had those evil fucking parts. They just went simplified.
Hell Awaits is still the best one for me.
This fucking record here came out. I remember this guy had it. His place was called 108. We used to practice his house. 108. They put that fucking thing on. I said, they are not. Now they're trying to be the slowest band. What the fuck is going on? And that's when they first got that slower name for a while. That was going around on them. And I just heard it and I was like, I want nothing to do with this band. Def Jam, Rick Rubin killed Slayer, and Slayer gets the gas face for that.
Show No Mercy is my favorite Slayer. Rain and Blood's my second. I love Rain and Blood. I know you hate it, but I love that record. And South of Heaven, when South of Heaven came out, I'm like, what the fuck, man? And it took me forever. I kind of like it now, some of the riffs, but I could care less. I'm listening to Show No Mercy or Rain and Blood. Those are the two. I like Halloween.
Some of the most annoying vocal sounds from that South of Heaven. The way he sings that song, it's cringingly bad.
The fucking 3-song EP, The Haunting the Chapel, Chemical Warfare. What a great fucking song. Yeah. I mean, they were on fire.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, so that's the end of my stack. So Marty, what have you got to wrap us up with?
Well, we covered a couple of these on the album club. Destruction, I can't say of the first three this is a favorite. I really struggled with this when it came out. I ended up liking it because it's weird. It's Destruction. I like the cover. It's strange. But I liked it eventually. When it first came out, no. It wasn't. Infernal Overkill's my favorite. Eternal Devastation's my second favorite. The tinfoil, recorded on tinfoil guitar tone. But this here, it's a little clean, but I do like it. I like some of the songs. I think it's a solid record. It's just weird. And another weird band that it took me a minute to warm up to because of Sean Killian's vocals. I know Deceased is going on tour with these guys, doing a little mini run here in a few months. But if I could turn off Sean's vocal track, I like the riffs. I like some of the songs on here. And the vocals, very punky. They eventually warmed up to me. I end up liking this record. I think I like the second album, Oppressing the Masses, better. And I know King loves this band. The New Order by Testament.
No, not that. Oh, man.
But the thing of it is, again, I'm a little disappointed because I love The Legacy. I think The Legacy is a fantastic record. This record is kind of short and slopped together, but I end up liking it.
Prel shampoo thrash.
Germac, bounce back, beautiful hair.
I hate those bands with pretty hair, shampooed hair with expensive guitars.
Yeah.
Man, give me fucking Violent Force from Germany, who fucking Darkness and fucking bands like that for my thrash, man.
And I had to pull this tape because I listened to this tape a lot when it came out in 1988. It's Pizza Thrash, man. It's Pizza Thrash.
Oh, no, it's Anthrax.
No, it's not Anthrax.
Oh, God.
Atrophy, socialized hate.
Yeah,
I mean, you got
was everywhere back then too.
Yeah, you got a song called Beer Bong. You know what you're kind of dealing with here. This might be the US equivalent to Acid Rain from UK. I don't know, but I like their two albums. And I guess TJ in the band was just telling me that these guys just reformed with one original member. So everybody hang on to your hats. They're revolutionizing thrash. It's coming back. It's coming back. So,
do you really get to call it reformed if there's only one original member? Because what did you reform? It's just you and a logo.
It's you and some guys.
If there's two of you, I get it. If there's two, you can say we reformed. How do I reformed something?
Me and the logo.
Me and the logo are the only original members of this band.
Come on, Marty, you got one more. You got to do Blood, Fire, Death.
You know what? I did not pick Blood, Fire, Death because I did not hear that record until later. I only picked stuff that I listened to.
Alan? Is that you?
I didn't pull it because I thought Marty had it. Well, hold on.
I would have pulled it. I would have pulled it, but I didn't have it.
I have to do everything.
I wanted to be authentic. This is shit I listened to in 1988. I didn't want to hear shit like I pulled a year or two later.
I figured we were going to yap at it. I like the first two batteries, especially the first one.
Yep.
I'm the Reaper coming to get you.
I'm possessed.
We used to do War. One of our first shows we ever played, we played War. We played Perpetual Voice from Sodom right into War from that.
Yeah. YouTube will shut down the video if we don't have Bathory on the 1988 video. Okay, Blood, Fire, Death. Here we go. Problems fixed.
I have the CD and the vinyl of it. I just didn't show it because I didn't listen to it in 1988.
Okay, you've heard it since then.
Yeah.
I didn't care for that one. I like the first two. Like I said, the first one for me, really. The raunchy raw shit for me, for them.
Marty?
Oh, I love it. It's great. I prefer Hammerheart, and I prefer, if I was going to go the black metal stuff, oh my God. The third album with the guy in the, what the hell's the name of it? Brain. I have had a few too many drinks.
The Sign of the Black Mark.
So Under the Sign of the Black Mark. Yeah. Of the black metal era, that's my favorite of that. And of the Viking era, it's Blood on Ice. But I mean, that's great. I enjoy it. It's kind of like a transitional record.
Anthrax sucked and Megadeth sucked. I'm just looking at the little flyer.
The Megadeth, so far so good. So what? Sucked. I
don't like it. I told you guys. First record I ever took back to the store, Megadeth, first record. I couldn't stand it. Can't stand that band. Never. Anthrax should have fallen off a cliff after Fistful of Metal.
There's a few songs on State of Euphoria. It was just too happy crappy, man. Too happy crappy.
It just isn't too silly.
Yep.
There again, most bands can't do silly that well, and Anthrax, was one of those. And again, it's coming after Among the Living. You've got Fistful of Metal. You've got better Anthrax albums than State of Euphoria, for sure.
I like Persistence of Time. Persistence of Time is a favorite of mine. I like that record.
Yeah, I dig that one too. But that's after the fact. But
in my world, I'm not afraid.
I like that record.
I just saw the video. It was on the heavy metal thing earlier. I'm a walk-in razor blade.
I gotta say that you look at So Far So Good So What, and they cover Anarchy in the UK. I'm sorry, if you're a US band and you're covering the sex, but Anthrax did it too with God Save the Queen. Fuck off.
Too many, yeah.
Fuck off. Why are you covering those songs?
If you cover
I'm here, man. That's why I'm here.
We're a New York band. We're a LA, San Francisco band. We're covering the Sex Pistols, Anarchy in the UK. You have no idea what you're even talking about. Shut the fuck up. Stupid.
Dave probably didn't know what he was talking about at the time.
Anthrax and Megadeth makes my whole night, man.
And I like Anthrax, and I like some Megadeth.
Metal forever. Yeah. After that, none. Megadeth, none of it. None of it.
Yeah.
Well, shit. We did it.
Did we do everything? Is there any records showing that we didn't do? We did them all.
Bathory was the big one that we almost let slip through the cracks there, I think.
I said, I was trying to be authentic. Me
too. Look at I got a real note here. Look, can you read my chicken scratch? Look, it has all my notes and all my albums.
I'm glad someone can read that shit.
You see, it's all, every one of them was mentioned.
Everybody, this is why Deceased, he's not away from Voivod handwriting their lyrics. That's why you're not seeing King Fowley handwrite his lyrics in Deceased.
Well, it was a Sharpie, and the damn thing was fucking like shooting the ink out crazy. So I had to. Anyway, yes, this is it.
There's always more albums
the right way.
Yeah, there's always more albums than you can get to. Just scanning the list. We didn't talk about Deadly Blessing, Ascend from the Cauldron, or Broca's Helm's Black Death, the Gargoyle album, Genocide Nippon, Heretics Breaking Point. There's always more and more that we can go on, but I think we've done it justice.
Was it Darkness, Conclusion, and Revival? Was that one up there?
We didn't talk about Darkness.
I have never heard a note from Darkness.
Darkness is like totally like Creator.
Like German. Jurgen's been showing them, and I'm like, I got to check them out, and I've never got on checking them out. And Malleus Maleficarum, I would have picked, but I didn't get that until like a year later. So, like I said, I was being authentic.
I forget that so early. I always think of Pestilence is not for another year or two.
They're another one of those bands where their first 3 albums don't sound anything like each other. Like 3 different bands. Yeah.
Yep.
Second one for me, The Consuming Impulse is the one I like by them.
I love it.
The one, most folks I think point to that one.
Van Drunen's vocals are sick. But anyway, everybody, King Fowley, we love you, brother, and it's so good to see you back.
We love you too, guys.
Everybody, Children of the Morgue is coming out towards the end of the year. We'll be, of course, hopefully King's will be coming back a bit more throughout the year, other than once in a while. He's been busy. You got the
guy said, where do I draw the line on Creator? I still love the guys as people, but man, I got out a long time ago, man, a long time ago. I might be able to take some of the weirdness when Renewal came out, but for me, it's Endless Pain 1, Pleasure to Kill 2, and then that's really Terrible Certainty was the first slippage for me. I actually like Extreme Aggression better, though it's on a major, and then Coma Souls, and then whatever happened after that, I couldn't even tell you. But I went on stage and sang Tormentor with them a few years ago. It was the only old song they did. And I was on stage going, the fuck are these songs, man? It was like Michael Shaker on guitar or something. It was But that's it for me. Sorry. Yeah. And yes, Children of the Morgue will come out
Children of the Morgue
on Hell's Headbangers.
And hopefully later this year, we will see a documentary on King's life. It'll be great. I'm looking forward to that. It's been in the making for many years. Let's get this shit done. Let's get it out.
It's going to be coming out, and I'll definitely come back and do this again. This is always fun. You guys rule. You guys are doing this week to week. Sometimes I'll, look at you guys on a Friday night. I'll come by and say, look, there's Marty. Look, there's Alan. And whoever your guests are, you always have good people, and you always keep it entertaining, and that's all that really it's about to me. It's fun. Everybody down here is having fun. We're joking. We're having a good time.
Yep.
Ain't nobody fucking up. Ain't nobody drunk on the streets right now. So good for everybody, man.
No, we're busting balls, and that's what we do.
Never.
That's right. And King, again, anytime you're welcome back. You know that. And everybody in the chat, we had a great turnout tonight. Thank you so much. Alan, do you have anything to say before we jump?
No, it's been a ton of fun. It always is when King's on. And yes, you've got a standing invitation anytime that you want to jump on and chat. Just let us know. We'll make it work.
Yep. Hang out, King. Don't hang up.
Okay.
Everybody, we will see you next week. There's going to be a review up on Monday with Simon with a band I can't pronounce. And Wednesday, we're
Unaspekalik and
be good, John.
Yeah, Chilean death metal, really cool band.
And there is Wednesday's album club is a Theater of Tragedy album, which
Kellen picked it, didn't he?
Kellen picked it, yeah.
I knew it.
I have a feeling I'd rather slam my cock on the door a couple times than listen to that record, but I got to. I will do it. And then next week, we don't know. We'll figure that out. But anyway, you all rule. Thank you so much. Cheers to you. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.